In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Alif, Lam, Ra. These are the verses of the wise book.
Commentary. Surah Yunus is among the Makki surahs. 3 of its verses revealed after the Hijra to Madinah have been called Madani. In this surah too, the proof of the basic objectives of Quran and Islam, such as the oneness of Allah, the mission of His Messenger, and the inevitability of the hereafter, has been provided. Since it has been presented in the background of the universe of our experience and observation, it becomes easy to comprehend. Along with it, some lesson-oriented historical accounts and stories have been introduced to warn people who do not pay heed to the open signs of Allah Ta'ala. As a corollary, the text refutes shirk, whereby heedless people start ascribing partners to the pristine divinity of Allah, and also answers some related doubts. This is a gist of the subjects taken up in the surah. A careful look at these will help us understand the interconnection between the previous surah, At-Tawbah, and the present one. At-Tawbah was making a strong statement when it opted for breaking through the powerful cordon of kufr and shirk to achieve the same objectives through material means by waging jihad against deniers and disbelievers. And since the present surah was revealed in Makkah before the injunctions of jihad came, these objectives have been explained and proved only by arguments and evidences very much in accordance with the law of the Meccan period. The surah opens with the letters Alif, Lam, Ra, known as isolated letters. Many surahs of the Quran begin with these. Debates on investigations made into the meaning of letter combinations like Alif, Lam, Mim, Ha, Mim, and Ain, Sin, Kaf by commentators are lengthy. But we also have the authentic verdict of the Sahaba, the Tabi'in, and the righteous elders of the community, Salaf, about these isolated letters. According to them, these are secret symbols or signs. In all likelihood, the Holy Prophet was confided with their meaning, but he elected to disclose to his community only those areas of knowledge and insight which their minds could bear by, and which, if remained unknown, would impede the normal living of his people. Nothing that Muslims must do is dependent upon knowing the secrets of such isolated letters, nor do they have to miss anything by not knowing them. Therefore, the Holy Prophet too did not tell his community about their meaning as being unnecessary for them. Therefore, we too should not go about digging into it, because it is certain that had the knowing of their meaning been expedient for us, our Master, who is mercy personified for the whole world, would have never hesitated in telling us about it. In the first verse, these are verses of the wise book. The word tilka, these, points out to the ayat of the surah which follow. The book refers to the Quran. To describe its attribute, the Quran has used the word hakim at this place. It means the book of wisdom.
Have the people been amazed that we revealed revelation to a man from among them, saying, warn mankind and give good tidings to those who believe, that they will have a firm precedence of honor with their Lord? But the disbelievers say, indeed, this is an obvious magician.
The second verse refers to a doubt expressed by the mushriks and provides its answer. In a nutshell, these people had, out of their ignorance, somehow decided that a messenger or prophet who comes from Allah Ta'ala should not be a human being, al-Bashar. Instead, he should be an angel. The Quran has refuted this absurd idea of theirs on several occasions from different angles. In one such verse, it was said, say, had there been angels walking in peace on the earth, we would have certainly sent to them from the heavens an angel, messenger. Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 95. In sum, the mission of a messenger cannot be accomplished unless there is a mutual homogeneity between this messenger and those to whom he is sent. Angels are homogeneous to angels and human beings to human beings. The purpose is to send a messenger for human beings. Only a human being has to be made a messenger. The same subject has been taken up in this verse in a different manner. The text sees no reason why would people wonder that a human being was made a messenger. Why was a human being entrusted with the mission of warning the disobedient ones against the punishment of Allah? Why was the task of heralding the good news of His rewards to the obedient ones assigned again to a human being? This kind of wondering deserves a counter-wonder, for sending a human messenger to the human race is perfect common sense. Good news to believers has been given in this verse by saying that they will have a perfect place with their Lord. The initial meaning of the word kadam, used here is step as in English. Since kadam is the medium of a person's effort and advancement in its wake, therefore, a higher rank is called the kadam in a figurative sense. Then by attributing kadam, high rank, place of honor, to sid, perfect as being true, certain, abiding, everlasting, it was emphasized that the high rank they were to get was real, certain, established, abiding, and everlasting. This was not something like the ranks and offices of the mortal world. To begin with, it is never certain that one would get these at all. If, as a result of some extra effort, one does get one of these, their continuity cannot be certain. In fact, what is certain is that these will vanish in time. Sometimes this could happen within one's lifetime. But when comes the time to die, one goes empty-handed. All ranks, offices, blessings remain behind. So, the word sidq includes the sense of certainty and also that of being perfect and everlasting in it. Therefore, the sentence means, O Prophet, give believers the good news that they will have a perfect place with their Lord, an asset that is certain and lasting. Some commentators have said, through the introduction of the word sidq at this place, an indication has been given that these high ranks can be achieved only through truth and absolute sincerity. Mere verbal claims of having faith and a formal recital of the kalima of a man is not enough until one embraces the faith, truly and duly, verbally and emotionally, and intellectually. It will invariably result in adherence to good deeds and avoidance of the evil ones.
Indeed, your Lord is Allah, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and then established himself above the throne, arranging the matter of his creation. There is no intercessor except after his permission. That is Allah, your Lord, so worship him. Then will you not remember?
In the third verse, the oneness of Allah, Tawhid, has been proved through the undeniable reality that there is no associate or partner to Allah Ta'ala when it comes to the creation of the heavens and the earth, and then to the management and operation of this entire universal system. When this reality stands established, how could someone else be made an associate or partner in his pristine divinity or in worship for him and in obedience to him? In fact, doing so is the highest conceivable injustice. It was said in this verse that Allah Ta'ala has created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. But a day, as we know, it denotes the time from sunrise to sunset, and it is obvious that the sun did not exist before the creation of the heavens, earth, and stars. How then could sunrise and sunset be calculated? Therefore, intended here is the measure of time utilized in between sunrise and sunset, making this huge world composed of the heavens, the earth, the planets, and the universe as a whole, ready and functional, a virtual turnkey job, so to say, can only be attributed to the being who is the purest of the pure and exercises power that is absolute. When he intends to create, he needs no raw materials in advance or any staff to assist. Such is the station and degree of his perfect power that he, as in when he intends to create what he wills, creates instantly, without any raw materials or personnel or technical support. The time duration of these 6 days has only been chosen in consideration of his particular wisdom. Otherwise, it was also within his power that he could have created the heavens and the earth and what it contained in a single instant. After that it was said, then he took a straight position on the throne, at which stands proof from the Qur'an, and hadith is that the Arsh, throne of the Rahman, the all-merciful Allah, is some created object which encompasses the entire heavens and the earth and the whole universe thereof. Thus, seen conversely, all that there is fits into the room inside it. Knowing any more about its reality is beyond any human effort. No doubt scientific knowledge in our time is at its zenith. Man is getting ready to reach planets comparatively near with mixed measures of success. However, scientists still confess that the distant planets are so far away from us that information about these through available instrumentation cannot be relied upon as a mirror of reality. Then, there are stars in the firmament even life from where has not yet reached our Earth, even though, as we know, the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. When this is the graph of human limitations in scaling planets and stars, how could human efforts to find out what we know as the heavens farther and higher from stars and planets be taken as credible, or even reasonable? And finally, what is believed to be the Arsh of the Rahman encompassing all there is, even above what is termed as the seventh heaven, is a reality seeking access to which through technical ingenuity needs no comment. So, up to this point, the third verse has told us that Allah Ta'ala created the heavens and the earth and the whole system of the universe in 6 days, and after that he took a position on the throne. The last sentence is a word arrangement in English for the words of the text, Thumma stawa al-arsh, which should be understood in the light of the comments appearing below. This is certain, and evident enough that Allah, the High and the True, is above and beyond the human concepts of body and mass and of all attributes and characteristics they may have. Neither does his existence relate to any direction or form, nor is his stay in a place like the staying of the things of the world where they belong. Now then, how are we to explain the nature, mode or manner of his staying, establishing or positioning on the arsh or throne? This can be explained only by saying that these are from what is called mutashabihat, statements of hidden meaning, in the terminology of Quran, a phenomena that cannot be comprehended by human reason. Therefore about it, says the Quran, no one knows its interpretation except Allah, and those who are well grounded in knowledge say, we believe therein, Surah Al-Imran, Ayat 7, and just do not bother to go digging out its reality. Therefore there is a standard approach in all such matters where the attribution of Allah Ta'ala has been made to a place or form, or where words, such as hand, face and shank, have appeared in the Quran for Allah Ta'ala. The aqidah, belief, of the majority of the ulama of the Muslim ummah is that one believes these words to be true in their place, and believes what Allah Ta'ala means by them is correct, and believes that the concern to know about its nature and reality should be set aside as being beyond one's ability to comprehend it. As for the later-day ulama, who have suggested some meanings to these things, they have done it only in a degree of probability, even in their own sight. They simply suggest perhaps it may mean this. They never say that the meanings they have given are certain, as obvious probabilities disclose no reality. Therefore, the only simple and straight creed, maslak, is that of the Sababa companions, the Tabi'in successors to companions, and the Salaf, the righteous and worthy forebears and elders of the faith. They were satisfied to live with the approach of entrusting the reality of such matters with divine knowledge. This brings us to the next statement. He manages all matters. It means that, positioned on the throne, he himself manages all universes by virtue of his power. Then comes the succeeding sentence, translated as, there is no intercessor except after his permission. It tells us that such is the majesty of Allah Ta'ala, that even a prophet and messenger cannot intercede on behalf of anyone, on their own, for him, unless Allah Ta'ala himself grants them the permission to intercede, without which even they could not do that.
To him is your return altogether. It is the promise of Allah which is truth. Indeed, He begins the process of creation and then repeats it, that He may reward those who have believed and done righteous deeds in justice. But those who disbelieved will have a drink of scalding water and a painful punishment for what they used to deny.
The fourth verse describes the aqidah of the hereafter. Belief in the hereafter, towards him is the return of you all. The announcement is asserted by saying, a real and true promise from Allah, that it must be as promised has been explained through the simple logic of, surely He originates the creation, then He will bring it again. The sentence is telling us that there is nothing surprising about it, and that there is no sense in worrying about as to how this entire universe would start pulsating with life after it has been eliminated. The reason is that the sacred power, who has the mastery to create something the first time, without any pre-existing matter, and without any prototype of form and shape, should hardly find any difficulty in creating once again everything He had made then unmade.
It is He who made the sun a shining light, and the moon a derived light, and determined for it phases, that you may know the number of years and account of time. Allah has not created this except in truth. He details the signs for a people who know.
Commentary. These two verses mention some signs openly visible in the universe of our experience. They are evidences of the perfect power and eloquent wisdom of the most exalted Allah. They prove that the Lord Almighty is fully capable of bringing about the end of this universe, reducing it to particles, then reassembling the particles and bringing everything back to life, all anew, making everyone account for one's deeds and get punishment or reward as enforced. And when He does that, it will be nothing but reasonable and wise. Thus, these two verses are an extension of what was said briefly in verse Surah Yunus. Ayat 3 mentioned there was the creation of the heavens and the earth in 6 days, the positioning on the throne, and the management of matters. The later proved that He did not, after having created the universe, abandon it to survive on its own. Instead, He manages, directs, and controls everything, all the time, every moment. The opening statement of verse 4, He is the one who has made the sun a glow and the moon a light, is a part of this very system and its management. Both words, dia and nur, mean glow and light. Therefore, many master lexicographers have taken these as synonyms. Ulama al-Zamakhshari al-Tibai, besides some others, said, though the sense of light is common to both words, the nur is general, whether strong or weak, dim or clear. Every light is referred to as nur, while da and dia referred to light that is strong and clear. One needs both kinds of light. For the usual business of life, the sharp and clear light of the day is required, while the comparatively dim light of the night is preferred for ordinary chores. If the day had nothing but the pale light of the moon, business will be affected adversely, and if the sun were to keep shining also during the night, sleep and chores that must be taken care of at that time alone would be disturbed. Therefore, nature made arrangements to provide both kinds of light by giving sunlight the degree of da and dia and let it manifest itself at the time when people are busy in business, vocation, or other avenues of livelihood. And the moonlight was made to be gentle, pale, and pleasing, and the night was appointed to be the time of its manifestation. The Holy Qur'an has differentiated the lights of the sun and the moon variously at several places. In Surah Yunus it was said, I and made the moon a light therein and made the sun a lamp. Surah Yunus, Ayah 16. Again, in Surah Al-Furqan, it was said, F, and placed in it the sky a lamp, and a shining moon. Surah Al-Furqan, Ayah 61. Suraj means lamp, and since the light from a lamp is its own and not borrowed from somewhere else, therefore some commentators have said that dia is the intrinsic light of something, while nar is extrinsic light derived from something else. This semantic approach appears to be influenced by Greek thought. Otherwise it has no lexical basis, and the Quran too has not given any categorical verdict about it. Zajjaj takes dia to be the plural of da. Perhaps this may be indicative of the sun being a compendium of the 7 colors of light which show up in the post-rain rainbow. Al-Manar, another manifestation of divine power related to the system of the sun and the moon, appears in the 2nd sentence of verse and determined for its stages, so that you may know the number of years in the calculation of time. The word kadara is a derivation from takdir, which means to maintain something at the level of a particular quantity and measure in terms of time or place or attributes. To keep the timings of the night and the day at a particular measure. The Holy Quran has said, and Allah determines the measure on the night and the day. Surah Al-Muzammil, Ayah 20, that spatial and travel distances have been kept at a particular measure finds mention it elsewhere. In Surah Saba, it was said about the habitations lying in between Syria and Saba, and we determined between them the distance on journey. Surah Saba, Ayah 18, and about quantitative measures in general, it was said, and created everything, then determined the measure for it. Determine precisely. Surah Al-Furqan, Ayah 2, the word manazil in the verse under study is the plural form of manzil, which essentially means the place one arrives on a journey, its stage or destination. Allah Ta'ala has appointed specific limits for the movement of the sun and the moon, each of which is called manzil or stage. Since the moon completes its orbit of the earth every month, the count of its stages comes to 30 or 29. However, since the moon is not visible at least for a day, therefore its stages are usually known as 28. The orbit of the sun is complete in a year, and it has 360 or 365 stages. During the era of Jahiliyyah, and by astronomers and mathematicians as well, particular names were given to these stages as borrowed from stars located in their proximity. Being above such technical nomenclatures, the Holy Quran has simply referred to the distances the sun and the moon cover in specified number of days. In the verse under discussion, the words, and determined for its stages, have been used with a pronoun in the singular form, although being referred to here are the stages of both the sun and the moon. Therefore, some commentators say that, no doubt, what has been mentioned here is in the singular form, but in terms of the reference to each single one, it includes both. Examples of this usage abound in the Quran and Arabic idiom. Some other commentators have said, though Allah Ta'ala has determined stages for the sun and the moon both, but at this place, the purpose is to describe the stages of the moon only. Therefore, the pronoun in kadarahu, determined for it, refers back to the moon. The reason for this specification is that one cannot find out the stages of the sun without the help of relevant instruments and calculations. Sunrise and sunset follow the same pattern every day throughout the year. A simple observation cannot tell anybody in what stage the sun is on a given day. This is contrary to the case of the moon. It has states are different every day. By the end of the month, it is just not visible. By observing such changes, even uneducated people can figure out the dates. For example, let us say the date today is March now, by just looking at the sun. Nobody can tell whether it is the 8th or the 21st. The case of the moon is different. One can find out the date even by looking at it. In the cited verse, the purpose is to tell people that man's own interest is also tied to these great signs of Allah Ta'ala, since the count of years, months and its dates can be kept through them. No doubt this calculation can be made from the sun and the moon both. Years and months, both solar and lunar, are universally known. Then, the Quran has also mentioned in Surah Al-Isra, Banu Israel, and we made the night and the day 2 signs. Then made the sign of the night disappear, and put the sign of the day with the light to see, so that you may seek bounty from your Lord, and that you may come to know the number of years and the count of time. Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 12. Here, the sign of the night means the moon, and the sign of the day, the sun. It is only after having mentioned both that it was said that you can find out the number of years and the dates of the months from these. And in Surah Ar-Rahman, it was said, which tells us that we can calculate the date, the month and the year through the sun and the moon both. But the calculation of month and date through the moon is based on observation and experience. On the contrary, when done through the sun, the calculations are so complex that no one other than regular mathematicians would understand them. Therefore, after having mentioned both the sun and the moon in this verse, when the Quran talks about having determined their stages, it elects to say Qadarahu, determined for it, using the pronoun in its singular form, whereby mentioned there were the stages of the moon only. Since great attention is paid in the injunctions of Islam, practically in all situations, to ensure that abiding by them is easy for everyone, educated or uneducated, urbanized or rustic, therefore, reliance has usually been placed on lunar year, month and dates in its laws. Thus it is the lunar calendar that operates in all matters of Islamic obligations and duties, such as Salah, Saum, Zakah, Ida, etc. This does not mean that using the solar calendar is impermissible. In fact, one can choose to use the lunar calendar in the case of Salah, Saum, Hajj, Zakah and Ida in accordance with the Sharia, but use the solar calendar in commercial and vocational activities. However, this is subject to the condition that the lunar calendar must continue to be in use among Muslims on a collective basis, so that the occasions and timings of religious obligations such as Ramadan and Hajj are in common knowledge at all times. This is to avoid the terrible situation in which Muslims just know no other months but January, February, etc. Muslim jurists, may the mercy of Allah be on them, have placed the responsibility of keeping the lunar calendar alive and functional on Muslims as fard al-kifaya, collective obligation, and there is no doubt about it that the calendar used in the tradition of the blessed prophets and in the sunnah of the last among them, the holy prophet, and in the practice of his rightly guided Khilafah was no other but this very lunar calendar. Using it, following in their footsteps, is certainly an effective cause of blessings and rewards for modern-day Muslims as well. In short, the verse points out to the perfect power and wisdom of Allah, who created 2 inexhaustible treasure troves of light so harmoniously synchronized with the rest of the creation. And then He determined ideal measures of their movement which help us find the time frame we are in, the year, the month, the day and its hours right up to every second. Neither does their movement vary, nor do they go ahead or remain behind, nor do these God-made marvels of what we call machines need any workshop appointments for repairs, nor greasing, nor replacement of worn-out parts. Someone in eternity had asked them to move and be good. This they are doing even today. For added warning, it was said at the end of the verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 5, Allah has not created all this but for something right. He elaborates the signs for a people who understand. It means that Allah did not create all these things in vain. There is great wisdom behind it, and certainly numerous are the benefits they bring for human beings. These are elaborated signs. They are loud and clear. They are telling the truth to people who are blessed with reason and insight.
Indeed, in the alternation of the night and the day, and in what Allah has created in the heavens and the earth, are signs for a people who fear Allah.
Similarly, it was said in the second verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 6, that there are signs in the coming of the night after the day and the day after the night, and in everything Allah has created in the heavens and the earth. These are open proofs of the oneness of Allah and the inevitability of the hereafter. For those who fear Allah, that they are proofs of the oneness of Allah, Tawhid, is not difficult to see. He has the power to make things happen. He makes things as no one can. He creates everything without the help of materials, personnel and prototype, and has the mastery to operate them under a system that never breaks or must be replaced. And they are proofs of the hereafter, because Allah is a great creator. He created, in His infinite wisdom, objects of such proportion and efficiency for the benefit of human beings. Then he made them follow a remarkably stable system. Now, it is not possible that he would have created human beings, who are the served ones in this universe, just for nothing, or just to eat and drink, or in some other nonchalant manner without assigning any duties to them. When it stands settled that some restrictions must apply to the served one of this universe, it also becomes necessary that those who observe or do not observe these restrictions should face an accounting of what they have done, sometime somewhere. Naturally, those who do observe these shall be rewarded, and those who do not shall be punished. Then it is also obvious that things do not work like this in the present world of our experience. Here, reward and punishment do not follow that pattern. It is quite likely that a criminal here may be living better as compared to someone God-fearing, righteous and innocent. Therefore, it is necessary to have a day for the accounting of deeds, rewards and punishments. This is what Qiyamah, the last day, and the hereafter are.
Indeed, those who do not expect the meeting with us and are satisfied with the life of this world and feel secure therein, and those who are heedless of our signs.
Commentary. In the previous verses, by mentioning the heavens and the earth and the moon and the sun, prominent manifestations of Allah's perfect power and wisdom, the belief in the oneness of Allah and the hereafter was proved eloquently. The first three of the present verses tell us that, despite such open signs and evidences spread out in this universe, human beings split up in two groups. One of the two groups was of those who paid just no heed to these divine signs, failed to recognize their Creator and Master, and failed to recognize even themselves. It never occurred to them that they were no animal like other animals. They never discovered that their Almighty Lord had blessed them with intelligence, reason and common sense in a degree much higher than that of the animals. Their Lord had put the entire resources of divine creation at their doorsteps. Everything was as if commissioned to serve them. This should have made them realize that there has to be something their Lord would want them to do, some duty or obligation or charge. If that had to be the case, they would have to account for whatever they had been asked to do. And for this it would be necessary that there should be a day fixed for ultimate reckoning and recompense known as the Day of Qiyamah or Al-Hashr, Doomsday, Resurrection, in the terminology of the Qur'an. But such people did nothing like that, instead preferred to live their lives at the level of common animals. In the first two verses, after giving the signs and marks of these people, the text mentions the punishment they would receive in the hereafter. The first thing the text tells is that such people did not think that they would meet their Lord. They have forgotten all about the inevitability of their life in the hereafter and have become pleased and content with their worldly life alone. Then they are sitting there, so satisfied and so content, as if they just do not have to go anywhere else from here. This, to them, was the end of the line, and this was where they have to live forever. It never occurs to them that everyone has to bid farewell to this world. This is so open a truth that no one can go about doubting it. And when going away from here is certain, then some preparation has to be made for the place one is going to. And then they are continuously heedless to Allah's verses and signs. Had they pondered over the marvel of the heavens and the earth, and what was created in between them, and, for that matter, over what was in their own person, they would have understood the reality behind everything, and they would have thus come out of their fatal negligence. The punishment of people whose signs have been given above is the fire of Jahannam that waits for them in the hereafter, and this punishment is nothing but the outcome of their own deeds. How regrettable that the signs of disbelievers and deniers pointed by the Quran are no different as far as our own present condition as Muslims is concerned. By looking at our way of life, and the pattern of our activities and thoughts, no one can come to the conclusion that we have some other concern bothering us except the concerns of this world under our noses. Yet, despite all that, we sit comfortably believing that we are Muslims, as staunch and true as they come. The hard reality is that the kind of staunch and true Muslims our worthy forebears were has become unimaginable for us. They were the ones a look at whose faces would remind one of God and transmit unmistakably that they feared someone above them, and their hearts throbbed with the concern of being accountable to Him. Not to say more about these wonderful people, even the Holy Prophet, despite being protected from sins, Ma'asum, lived his blessed life in that state. It appears in Sham al-Tirmidhi that the Holy Prophet looked sad and concerned fairly often.
For those their refuge will be the fire because of what they used to earn.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 7, for the Tafsir.
Indeed, those who have believed and done righteous deeds, their Lord will guide them because of their faith. Beneath them rivers will flow in the gardens of pleasure.
Mentioned in the third verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 9 are those fortunate people who pondered over the signs of the most exalted Allah. Thereby they recognized Him, believed in Him, and by acting in accordance with the dictates of their faith became duty, bound to say and do what was good and right, al-amalas, salihah, good deeds. The good return and reward made due by the Holy Qur'an for these wonderful people has been mentioned in a particular manner. It was said, their Lord will guide them by virtue of their belief, that is, take them to their destination, the Jannah paradise, where rivers shall be flowing in the gardens of bliss. The well-known meaning of the word hidayah, used here is to tell or show the way. Then on occasions, it is also used in the sense of taking someone all the way to the desired destination. At this place, this is the meaning intended. As for the desired destination, it means Jannah that stands clarified by the words appearing later. It will be recalled that the punishment of the first group was the outcome of their own misdeeds. Here, similar to that, it was said about the reward of the second group of believers, that they have been blessed with this reward by virtue of their belief. And since belief has been bracketed with good deeds earlier, therefore, a man or belief mentioned at this place will mean belief that is supported by good deeds. Al-amal salihah, the return for belief in good deeds, is Jannah, the place of unimaginable and unparalleled bliss.
Their call therein will be, Exalted are you, O Allah, and their greeting therein will be, Peace. And the last of their call will be, Praise to Allah, Lord of the worlds.
Some particular states in which the people of Jannah shall find themselves after their arrival there have been spelt out in the 4th verse Surah Yunus, Ayat 10. First of all, their prayer therein will be, Pure are you, O Allah. Here, the word, dawah, should not be taken in its well-known sense of claim, something to plain, if does against the responding party. Instead of that, dawah has been used here in the sense of prayer, supplication. It means that the da'wah of the people of Jannah, after they have reached Jannah, will be in the form that they will be saying, Pure are you, O Allah, that is, they will be glorifying the exalted majesty of Allah, known as tasbih in the religious terminology of Islam. This raises a question for du'a, as commonly recognized, is the act of asking for something or the seeking of what one would like to have. The words, Subhanaka Allahumma, Pure are you, O Allah, have no element of asking or seeking in them. Then, what was the basis of calling it du'a? The answer is that the expression used here is there to communicate something relevant to the great occasion. Is it not that the people of Jannah will have the most comprehensive bliss, which will include everything they could wish for almost automatically as they would have wished? So, there will be no asking or seeking. As a replacement of the popular mode of du'a, what they would be able to say would be nothing more than the tasbih of Allah in total submission. That too would not be something like an obligatory act of worship they used to do in their mortal lives, whether or not they enjoyed doing so. In fact, they would savor the taste of saying these words of glorification and say, Subhanaka Allahumma on their own, gratefully delighted. In addition, reports a Qudsi hadith that Allah Ta'ala said, A servant of mine who remains busy glorifying me all the time, so much so that he finds no time even to ask what was to be asked, then I shall give him the best of what is asked by all those who ask, that is, take care of what he needs to be done without his having to ask for it. If so, the expression, Subhanaka Allahumma, that has been translated as Pure are you, O Allah, could also be called a du'a, prayer. It is in terms of this sense that a hadith in the Sahih of al-Bukhari and Muslim reports that the Holy Prophet used to make the following dua when in pain or anxiety. There is no God but Allah, the Great, the Forbearing. There is no God but Allah, the Lord of the Great Throne. There is no God but Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the Lord of the earth and the Lord of the generous throne. Imam al-Tabari said, the worthy forebears of the Muslim community, al-Salaf al-Salihan, used to call it the prayer of pain, the dua of karb. Whenever in intense pain, anxiety or distress, they would recite these words and pray to Allah for relief. Tafsir Qutubai. There is yet another hadith report carried by Imam Ibn Jarir, Ibn Mundhir and others that the people of Jannah, when they wish to have something, will say Subhanaka Allahumma. Hearing this, the angels will instantly present what they wished before them as if the words Subhanaka Allahumma will serve as a password or access code for the people of Jannah through which they will articulate their wish, and the angels, doing their duty, will fulfill it every time. Ra'alam for the people of Jannah through which they will articulate their wish, and the angels, doing their duty, will fulfill it every time. Ra'almani and Qutubai. From that angle, we can also call the statement Subhanaka Allahumma and Describing the second state of the life of the people of Jannah, it was said, and their greeting therein will be salam. In customary usage, tahiyya is the word used to greet someone coming in or met elsewhere. For example, ahlan wa sahlan, as the Arabs say, or good morning, good evening, nice to see you. Hello, hi is used in English with varying degrees of formality or informality. This verse tells us that the people of Jannah will be greeted with the word salam from Allah Ta'ala or from the angels. It would mean good news to you that you now stand protected against everything painful or unpleasant. This solemn greeting could also be from Allah Ta'ala himself, as in Surah Yasin, salam peace. A word from a merciful Lord, Surah Yasin, Ayah 58. And it could also be from the angels, as said elsewhere, and angels will come to them from every gate saying Salamun alaykum, may you be in peace and security, Surah Ar-Ra'd, Ayah 23 to 24. By the way, there is no contradiction in the two sayings. There could be the time when salam greeting comes directly from Allah Ta'ala, and there could be the time when it comes from the angels. Though the salam greeting is actually a prayer in the mortal world, but once in Jannah, where one would have everything one needs or wishes to have, therefore this word will not retain its sense of prayer there. Instead, will become a complement of glad tidings. Ra'al-Ma'ani, describing the third state of the life of the people of Jannah, it was said, and the end of their call will be, praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. The essential aim of the statement is to indicate that the people of Jannah, once there, will start knowing Allah Ta'ala better. The spiritual master Shahabuddin Surawardi said, after having reached Jannah, the people of Jannah as a whole will be blessed with a station of knowledge and wisdom which is occupied by ulama in the mortal world. The ulama would rise to the station the prophets have here. The prophets would rise to the station occupied by Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa, the foremost among them in this world. And he, blessings and peace on him, will occupy the highest station of nearness to Allah in Jannah. It is possible that this may be the celebrated place called the praise station, al-Makam al-Mahmud, a place referred to in the dua to be recited after Ihan, where Muslims pray that their prophet may be blessed with the praise station, a prayer he had himself taught them to make. In short, the initial dua of the people of Jannah will be Subhanaka al-Hama, pure are you, O Allah, and the last dua will be Alhamdulillahi Rabbi al-Alamin, praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Pointed to here are two kinds of attributes of Allah Ta'ala. 1. The attributes of being the most exalted, which show that he is free from and beyond any shortcoming or evil. 2. The attributes of being the noblest, which show honor, greatness, magnanimity, and perfection. In the last verse of Surah Ar-Rahman, both kinds have been named by saying, blessed is the name of your Lord, the possessor of power, excellence of majesty, and honor. Surah Ar-Rahman, Ayah 78. If we were to ponder a little, we will see that absolute purity of Allah Ta'ala forms part of his attribute of majesty, and that he deserves being praised as one of his attributes of honor. Since the attributes of majesty and honor follow in that order, therefore the people of Jannah will first recount his majesty by saying, Subhanaka Allahumma, pure are you, O Allah. Then they will mention the words, Alhamdulillah Allahi Rabbi al-Alamin, praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, being a tribute to his honor, something they are engaged in all the time. And according to the natural order of these three states, when the people of Jannah will say Subhanaka Allahumma, in response to which they will receive the greeting of salam from Allah Ta'ala, as a result of which they will say, praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, Ra'al-Ma'ani, injunctions and rulings. Al-Qutub has said in Al-Qur'an, according to this conduct of the people of Jannah, Sunnah in eating and drinking, and in everything else we do, is that one starts with Bismillah and ends at Alhamdulillah. The Holy Prophet said, it is liked by Allah Ta'ala that his servant, when he eats or drinks something, starts with Bismillah, and when he is finished with it, says Alhamdulillah. It is recommended, mustahab, that a person making dua also says, and our prayer at the end is that praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, at the end of it. Al-Qutub adds to that by saying, along with it, it is better to also recite the following last verses of Surahs. Safat, pure is your Lord, Lord of all might, above from what they ascribe to him. And Salam, peace and security be on the messengers. And praise be to Allah, Lord of the world. Surahs. Safat, Ayah 180 to 182.
And if Allah was to hasten for the people the evil they invoke, as he hastens for them the good, their term would have been ended for them. But we leave the ones who do not expect the meeting with us, in their transgression, wandering blindly.
Commentary. The first of the 7 verses cited above relates to people who deny the hereafter, life to come. For this reason, when they are warned against the punishment of the hereafter, they mockingly say, "If you are telling the truth, bring this punishment now," or say something like, "Why would this punishment not come soon enough?" This was like what Nader ibn Harith had said, "O Allah, if this thing is true, let stones rain down upon us from the heavens, or send some other severe punishment." It has been answered in the same verse by saying that Allah Ta'ala is, after all, powerful over everything. He can send the promised punishment instantly, right now. But in His infinite wisdom and mercy, He prefers not to do so. When people like these wish to have evil and hardship sent upon them, they do not realize what they were doing. And Allah Ta'ala had been granting their curses on themselves as soon as they wished, similar to how He would answer their positive prayers. Fairly often all of them would have been destroyed to the last man. From here we learn that it is the customary practice of Allah Ta'ala that He would answer prayers for one's good fairly often, and if, on one or the other occasion, a prayer is not answered due to some wise consideration, it would not be contrary to the general rule. But the case of a person who, because of his ignorance, or anger, or grief, falls into the error of hurling on himself or his family a curse in the fair name of prayer is different. Similar to this is the unfortunate one who invites divine punishment, due against those who reject the truth of a hereafter, to fall on him, as if playing a game with God. Allah Ta'ala does not accept these prayers promptly, instead, gives them respite so that the denier gets the time to think and abstain from his denial. Or if the curse has been invoked because of some sudden grief, anger, or desperation, then one gets the lease of time to sort out his conduct, avoid what is bad about it, and try to stay away from it thereafter. Ibn Jarir, on the authority of Qatada and al-Bukhari, and Muslim on the authority of Mujahid, report that, at this place, the invoking of curse refers to what an angry person sometimes does when he breaks into supplicating adversely to the effect that his children, wealth, or property be destroyed. Even if the person were to blurt out words of curse on these, it will stand included therein. Allah Ta'ala, in His infinite mercy, does not hasten to answer such prayers. Imam al-Qurtubi, on the authority of a hadith narrative, reports that the Holy Prophet said, "I have prayed to Allah Jalathan by imploring Him not to answer the curse invoked by a friend or relative upon another friend or relative." Shard ibn Hashib says, "I have read that angels appointed to take care of human needs have been instructed by Allah Ta'ala in His mercy that they should not write down what His servant says in grief or anger." Qurtubi, despite what has been said here, there are occasions when comes that moment of divine approval in which what one is saying on the spot gets to be accepted instantly. Therefore, a holy prophet said, "Never pray that evil may fall on your children or things you own, lest that time be the time the prayer is to be accepted and the curse so invoked may stand answered and activated all of a sudden, causing you remorse afterwards." This hadith, on the authority of Sayyid ibn Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, appears in the Sahih of Muslim under the event of the Battle of Buwat. The outcome of all these hadith reports is as follows. As obvious, the main address in the verse under reference concerns the deniers of the hereafter who demanded an instant punishment. But in view of its universality, it includes Muslims as well, who may also break into invoking a curse on themselves or on their belongings and children under some fit of grief or anger. Such is the customary practice of Allah Ta'ala, because of His grace and compassion, that He deals with both of them in the same manner. He does not allow such invocations for curses to be actualized and implemented instantly so that the erring person gets the opportunity to think it out and rescind.
And when affliction touches man, he calls upon us, whether lying on his side or sitting or standing. But when we remove from him his affliction, he continues in disobedience, as if he had never called upon us to remove an affliction that touched him. Thus is made pleasing to the transgressors that which they have been doing.
An eloquent approach has been made in the second verse Surah Yunus, ayat 12, to convince those who denied that Allah was one, Tawhid, and that there was a life to come, the hereafter. It was said, when conditions are normal, people would find time to engage in debating the nature and existence of God and the hereafter. They would feel free to ascribe all sorts of partners and associates to His pristine divinity and look forward to them in the hope that they would respond at their hour of need. But as soon as some major distress overtakes them, even these very people, disappointed by the entire range of their false gods they pin their hopes on, do nothing but call Allah for help, not simply once but repeatedly, lying, sitting, standing. They have no choice. They must invoke Him for help. However, along with this attitude, certainly terrible is their ingratitude. When Allah Ta'ala removes their distress, They forget all about him, becoming so disconnected and indifferent to him, as if they had never called him and never sought his help in their hour of need. This tells us that those who associate anyone or anything else with Allah Ta'ala in his exclusive domain as the dispenser of all that is needed by his creation do themselves get to experience the demolition of this belief of theirs. But because of their hostility and obstinacy, they keep glued to their false notion.
And we had already destroyed generations before you when they wronged, and their messengers had come to them with clear proofs, but they were not to believe. Thus do we recompense the criminal people.
The subject of verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 12, has been emphasized from a different angle in verse Surah Yunus. Ayah 13 it has been said, "Let no one miscalculate that punishment cannot come in this world just because Allah Ta'ala gives respite to those who deny and disbelieve." The history of past peoples shows that different kinds of punishments have visited them because of their contumacy and disobedience right here in this world. It is a different matter that Allah Ta'ala has promised that no mass punishment will come upon the Muslim Ummah in consideration of the honor of Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa, the foremost among prophets. But it is in the face of this very merciful indulgence of Almighty Allah that people have become audacious enough to come forward and invite, even demand, divine punishment. On the contrary, it is necessary to remember that indifference to divine punishment is not proper under any condition, even for them Muslims. The reason is that the promise of not sending mass punishment upon the Muslim Ummah, or the world as a whole, certainly stands there, but the coming of such punishment on particular individuals and nations is possible even now.
Then we made you successors in the land after them, so that we may observe how you will do.
In verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 14, it was said, "Then we made you vice-regents on the earth, in order to see how you would act." That is, after the destruction of past peoples, we made you successors to them, giving you the vice-regency of the earth. But let this not give you any false idea that this vice-regency of the earth has been given to you so that you could have a good time. In fact, this honor has been bestowed on you to test you and to see how you would act. Would you learn your lesson from the history of past peoples, or would you lose your head, drunk with power and wealth? This tells us that worldly power is not something to be proud of or arrogant about. This is responsibility at its toughest, a charge very heavy and very fragile to handle.
And when our verses are recited to them as clear evidences, those who do not expect the meeting with us say, "Bring us a Quran other than this, or change it." Say, O Muhammad, "It is not for me to change it on my own accord. I only follow what is revealed to me. Indeed, I fear, if I should disobey my Lord, the punishment of a tremendous day."
In the last three verses, Surah Yunus, Ayah 15 to 17, there is the refutation of a false notion entertained by the deniers of the hereafter, and also the rejection of an inappropriate request made by them. They were a people who did not know much about God or revelation or prophets sent by him. They took them to be like common human beings having nothing special about them. Think of the Holy Qur'an, which reached the world through the Prophet of Islam. Even this they thought was spoken and written by him. It was under this frame of mind that they told the Holy Prophet, "As for this Qur'an, it is against our beliefs and ideas. These idols our forefathers have been worshipping since ever as providers of their needs are, according to the Qur'an, totally false and ineffectual. They are things we have been using and transactions we have been making all along. The Qur'an says that they are all unlawful. And then, the Qur'an tells us that we have to live again, after we are dead, and that we have to account for everything we have done. All these things make no sense to us. We are not ready to accept them. Therefore, you do one of the two things we are asking you to do. Either you replace this one with another Qur'an which does not have these things, or at the least, amend this very Qur'an and expunge those undesirable things from there." Rejecting their false notion first, the Qur'an instructs the Holy Prophet al-Jai to tell those people that the Qur'an was not his word, nor could he change it on his own. He only followed what was revealed to him by Allah. If he were to make the least change in it on his own and by his choice, he would be committing a grave sin, and that he feared the punishment that falls upon those who disobey Allah. Therefore, he could not do that. Then he was asked to tell them that he did everything under divine orders. Had it been the will of Allah Ta'ala that this word should not be recited to them, neither would he have recited that to them, nor would he have let them know about that. Now that it was the very will of Allah Ta'ala that they should be made to listen to precisely that word, who can dare make any addition or deletion therein?
Say, If Allah had willed, I would not have recited it to you, nor would He have made it known to you, for I had remained among you a lifetime before it. Then will you not reason?
After that, the fact that the Quran was from Allah, and that it was His word was driven home with an open argument by saying that I have lived among you for years before it. In effect, He was saying, just think for a moment. Is it not that, much before the revelation of the Quran, I have spent a long period of 40 years of my life among you? During this period, you have never heard me composing and reciting poetry or writing essays in prose. Had I been proficient in saying something like this word of Allah, I would have naturally said at least some of it during this period of 40 years. In addition to that, you have a direct experience of my character and conduct, particularly of my truth and honesty, during these long 40 years of my life among you. You know that I have never lied then. How and why would I start lying now after all those 40 years? This clearly proves that the Holy Prophet is true and trustworthy. Whatever there is in the Quran is the word of Allah Ta'ala and has come from Him. Important note. No doubt, this argument of the Quran provides a perfect proof of its veracity as the word of Allah. But it has also given us a standing rule of conduct in matters of common interest where we must be able to separate the genuine from the counterfeit and the true from the false. When an office or rank of responsibility has to be given to a person, it becomes necessary to assess the qualification and capability of the incumbent. To do that, the best rule is to go through the record of his past life. If the person concerned is found to be true and trustworthy, the same can be expected from him in the future as well. And if there is no evidence to prove his honesty and truth in that person's past life, trusting him for the future, just because of what he says or claims, is not a wise thing to do. In our time, finding the right person for an office of responsibility has become a nightmare. All sorts of errors of intent, background research, and decision-making are being committed, and errors are compounded by widespread disorders in social and governmental institutions. The real reason why all this is happening is the abandonment of this natural principle in favor of what is customary, formal, or straight dishonest.
So who is more unjust than he who invents a lie about Allah or denies His signs? Indeed, the criminals will not succeed.
The last verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 17, emphasizes the subject conclusively by warning that attributing any statement to Allah Ta'ala that was not His word, or denying what actually was, were crimes deserving severe punishment.
And they worship other than Allah, that which neither harms them nor benefits them, and they say, these are our intercessors with Allah. Say, do you inform Allah of something He does not know in the heavens or on the earth? Exalted is He, and high above what they associate with Him.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 17, for the Tafsir.
And mankind was not but one community united in religion, but then they differed. And if not for a word that proceeded from your Lord, it would have been judged between them immediately concerning that over which they differ.
Commentary. Disbelievers and believers are two separate nationalities. Nationality based on race and country is absurd. The statement, and people were but one community, in verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 19, means that the progeny of Sayyidina Adam was essentially a single community of monotheists in the earlier stages of man's presence in the world. Shirk and Kufr were unknown as such. Then came up difference in the principle of pure monotheism that divided human beings in different nations and groups of people. How long this period of a single community of believers last? Original sources of Islamic tradition tell us that the situation prevailed up to the time of Sayyidina Noah. It was during his time that Shirk and Kufr showed up, and he was the one who had to confront it first. Tafsir Majari, then, it is also obvious that there is a long period of time between Sayyidina Adam and Sayyidina Nuh, may peace be on them both. Human race had multiplied in population and spread out in the world. The presence of differences in color, ethnicity, and social lifestyles was natural. That people had spread themselves out in different regions would have certainly generated differences on the basis of country and homeland. Then it is also possible that spoken languages may have become somewhat different. But the Holy Quran did not allow these natural genealogical or tribal differences, or those of color and country, to become impediments to the grand design of one community. In fact, it did not declare the progeny of Sayyidina Adam to be different nations and communities because of these differences. Instead, it gave them the status of one community. Of course, when kufr and shirk spread out and pose a threat to Iman or true belief, kafirs and mushriks were declared to be a separate community of people as indicated in. Later, they differed. Another verse of the Holy Quran is He who created you, yet there is among you a disbeliever, and there is among you a believer. Surah Takabun. Ayat 2 makes it more explicit. It tells that the thing that separates the progeny of Sayyidina Adam created by Allah into different peoples is the deviation from the man in Islam. Bonds of lineage or country do not make people separate. Bracketing human beings into different groups on the basis of language, homeland, color, or race is ignorance dished out in a garb of enlightenment. It is new, but everything new is not necessarily true and wise. In fact, it might as well be the exact opposite of what is wise. Today, there are many educated people who have also fallen into the trap of this narrow concept of nationalism based on the factors enumerated above. Unfortunately, this approach towards ordering the social life of human beings is fraught with seeds of countless unseen disasters. May Allah keep Muslims safe from its evil effects.
And they say, why is a sign not sent down to him from his Lord? So say, the unseen is only for Allah to administer. So wait, indeed, I am with you among those who wait.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 19, for the Tafsir.
And when we give the people a taste of mercy after adversity has touched them, at once they conspire against our verses. Say, Allah is swifter in strategy. Indeed, our messengers record that which you conspire.
Commentary. The word, may Allah have mercy on him, Makr, used in verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 21, say Allah is more swift in making plans, means secret plan or move that could be good or bad. Wherever this word has become a part of the local language, care should be taken that it is not rendered as deception. For instance, in Urdu, the original language of this commentary, it means just this. It is obvious that Allah Ta'ala is free from it. The English language has no such problems as the open sense of makr can be transmitted through plan or move. Translator.
It is He who enables you to travel on land and sea until, when you are in ships and they sail with them by a good wind and they rejoice therein, there comes a storm wind and the waves come upon them from everywhere, and they assume that they are surrounded, supplicating Allah, sincere to Him in religion. If you should save us from this, we will surely be among the thankful.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 21, for the Tafsir.
But when He saves them, at once they commit injustice upon the earth without right. O mankind, your injustice is only against yourselves, being merely the enjoyment of worldly life. Then to us is your return, and we will inform you of what you used to do.
The warning given in verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 23, your rebellion is, in fact, against your own selves, tells us that the curse of injustice is certain and much before matters are settled in the hereafter. One who is guilty of doing injustice must suffer from its evil consequences in this world as well. The Holy Prophet has said, Allah Ta'ala hastens to repay mercy shown to relatives and favor done to people, whereby its blessings start becoming visible in this world, much before the hereafter. And He also hastens to repay injustices done and relationships severed, in that its consequences have to be faced within the life of this world. Reported by Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah with a Hasan chain of narrators. In another hadith narrated by Sayyidat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with him, the Holy Prophet said, there are 3 sins, the curse whereof falls on the sinner himself: injustice, breach of trust, and deception. Reported by Abu Ash-Shaykh and Ibn Marjaway in Tafsir, see Majari.
The example of this worldly life is but like rain which we have sent down from the sky that the plants of the earth absorb, those from which men and livestock eat, until, when the earth has taken on its adornment and is beautified, and its people suppose that they have capability over it, there comes to it our command by night or by day, and we make it as a harvest, as if it had not flourished yesterday. Thus do we explain in detail the signs for a people who give thought.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 23, for the Tafsir.
And Allah invites to the home of peace and guides whom He wills to a straight path.
Commentary. In the previous verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 24, the transitory nature of worldly life was likened to a field. Water came from the heavens, and it became verdant with flowers and fruits and crops. Growers were happy to presume that this will take care of everything they needed. But because of their acts of disobedience, some unforeseen divine punishment descended during the time of the night or day. Everything stood wiped off as if nothing had existed there. This was the state of worldly life. After that comes a description of the life to come as it would be. It was said, and Allah invites people to the abode of peace. It means a home where absolute and eternal peace reigns, a home that has neither pain and sorrow, nor the danger of disease, nor the concern of adverse change or sudden extinction. Darus Salam means the Jannah or paradise. One reason why it has been called Darus Salam is that everyone will have ideal peace and security there. The second reason appears in some reports from Hadith. They say that Jannah has been given the name of Darus Salam also because its dwellers shall always be receiving salam greetings from Allah Ta'ala, and from the angels as well. In fact, the word salam would itself be a sort of technical keyword used by the people of Jannah to express their wishes which the angels would fulfill. For details, please see the commentary on verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 10. While explaining this verse, Yahya ibn Mu'ad has given some man-to-man advice to whomsoever it may reach, O son of Adam. Allah Almighty invited you to the home of peace, Darus Salam. When and from which country would you take that right step in response to this divine call? Understand and mark it well. If you have started making efforts to say yes to this invitation from your Lord, while you are still here in this world, you will succeed. You will reach the home of peace. And if you wasted the years of your life here, then landed in your grave, and then thought of following this call, you will be stopped. You will not move from there, not even one step, because the place where you are is no home of deeds. Daru al-Amal, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said, Darus Salam is one of the 7 names of Jannah. Tafsir al-Qur'an. This tells us that it is not proper to name a house in this world as Darus Salam. Similarly, it is also not correct to give it names like Jannah or Firdaus, paradise. After that, it was said in the cited verse, and he brings whom he wills to a straight path.
For them who have done good is the best reward, and extra. No darkness will cover their faces, nor humiliation. Those are companions of paradise, they will abide therein eternally.
The sense is that the invitation to the abode of peace, Darus Salam, is universal, open to all human beings, and in terms of a sense, guidance too is open to all. But there is a kind of guidance that is special. Here, a seeker is made to stand on the straight path, and given the ability to move ahead on course. This is Tawfiq at its best. Only fortunate people are blessed with it. Compared in the first 2 verses were the 2 abodes of the present world and the world to come. Mention was also made of the states in which their dwellers were. The next 4 verses, Surah Yunus, Ayah 26 to 29, describe the reward and punishment of both. Taken up first were the people of paradise. About them it was said that those who opted for good, the greatest good was that of a man, belief and faith, supplemented by staunch adherence to al-Amalus Tali, good deeds. They will have the best of returns for what they do, not simply what is coming to them as due, but much more than it. The tafsir of this verse was given by the Holy Prophet himself. He explained it by saying, at this place, al-Husna, the best of return, means Jannah, paradise, and Diyana, something more, means the visit to the most exalted Allah with which the people of Jannah shall be honored. Tafsir al-Qur'an, by on the authority of Say, Ibn Anas, may Allah be pleased with him. As for the reality of paradise, this much every Muslim knows, that it is a place of bliss beyond human imagination now. And as for the visit to Allah Ta'ala, that is far superior to whatever blessings there are. According to a narration of Sayyidina Suhaib, may Allah be pleased with him, appearing in the Sahih of Muslim, the Holy Prophet has been reported to have said, when the people of Jannah would have entered Jannah, Allah Ta'ala will address them, do you need anything? If so, tell us. We shall fulfill it. The people of Jannah will submit, you made our faces radiant with delight. You let us be in Jannah. You delivered us from Jahannam. What else can we ask for? That will be the time when the high hijab obstructing the view in between will be removed. The people of Jannah, one and all, will be blessed with seeing their true Lord. They will then discover that this was a blessing far more sublime than all other blessings of Jannah, something they had not even thought about, something the Lord of all the worlds bestowed upon them without their having to ask for it, simply out of his infinite affection and mercy. Then the text describes the state of the same people of Jannah by saying that their faces will remain free of any effects of distaste, pain or sorrow, nor will they have to be worried about any disgrace. These are conditions everyone faces in the mortal world one or the other time, and those who go to Jahannam will face it in the hereafter. In contrast, the state of the people of Jahannam has been described by saying that those who came with evil deeds in their record will have an equal return for each evil without any increase in it. They will have disgrace all over them. There will be no one to save them from the punishment of Allah. Dark will be their faces, so dark as if layers upon layers of a night have covered them up.
But they who have earned blame for evil doings, the recompense of an evil deed is its equivalent, and humiliation will cover them. They will have from Allah no protector. It will be as if their faces are covered with pieces of the night, so dark are they. Those are the companions of the fire. They will abide therein eternally.
In the 2 verses appearing next, there is a dialogue between the people of Jahannam and the idols or Satans who had led them astray. The locale will be the plain of resurrection. It was said, "On that day we shall gather everyone. Then to the mushriks we shall say that, you and your gods whom you had associated with us in our divinity stay in your places where you are, so that you can find out the reality of your conviction." After that, the connection between these people and their so-called gods as it existed in the mortal world will be disconnected. The result will be that their idols will speak up, "You never worshipped us." Making Allah their witness, they will say, "As for us, we were certainly unaware of your worship because we have no senses, no movement, and no intelligence to understand these matters."
And mention, O Muhammad, the day we will gather them all together. Then we will say to those who associated others with Allah, "Remain in your place, you and your partners." Then we will separate them, and their partners will say, "You did not use to worship us."
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 27, for the Tafsir.
And sufficient is Allah as a witness between us and you, that we were of your worship unaware.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 27, for the Tafsir.
There, on that day, every soul will be put to trial for what they did previously, and they will be returned to Allah, their Master, the truth, and lost from them is whatever they used to invent.
Described in the 6th verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 30 is what would happen to both the peoples of Jannah and Jahannam by saying that, in this excruciating place called the Plains of Resurrection, everyone would have assessed his or her respective deeds individually and personally, whether they were beneficial or harmful, and they all would then be taken to their true Lord, the only one worthy of worship. At that time, all options of trust and support one usually looks up to will stand terminated. Even the idols, the mushriks, used to take as their patrons and intercessors will evaporate in thin air and blah.
Say, who provides for you from the heaven and the earth? Or who controls hearing and sight, and who brings the living out of the dead, and brings the dead out of the living, and who arranges every matter? They will say, Allah. So say, then will you not fear Him?
In the 7th and the 8th verses, the Holy Qur'an has, in its typically wise and patronizing manner, beamed a few questions at the mushriks to help them regain their sanity. Addressing the Holy Prophet, it was said that he should ask these people, "Who gives you sustenance from the heavens and the earth? Who is the master controller of your ears and eyes, and that you hear and see as he wills, and you do not if he wills otherwise? Who brings forth the living from the dead, such as vegetation and trees from the soil? Or who brings forth humans and animals from the sperm, or a bird from an egg? And who brings forth the dead from the living, such as a lifeless sperm from humans and animals? And who is it that plans and manages the affairs of the whole universe?" After that, it was said when these questions will be addressed to them, all of them would say that all these things were created by one Allah. Then the Holy Prophet was to ask them, "Why then would you not fear Allah, when you know that it is Allah alone who creates, sustains, and manages everything? Why do you have to take someone else other than Him as deserving of your devotion and obedience?"
For that is Allah, your Lord, the truth. And what can be beyond truth except error? So how are you averted?
In the concluding verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, it was said, "So, that is Allah, your Lord in truth. And what is there after truth but error? That is, this is the sacred being whose attributes of perfection have just been mentioned. Once you have found the truth, there remains nothing else to find except error and straying. In other words, once it stands proved that Allah Ta'ala is the only true and rightful object of worship, it is terribly senseless to abandon this truth and allow yourself to be diverted elsewhere. Important note. In relation to issues of religious beliefs embedded in this verse, it must be borne in mind that the statement, "What is there after truth but error?" proves that there is no intermediary link between truth and error. What is not the truth will be included in error and straying. There can be no such thing that is neither truth nor error, and it is also not possible that two opposite things could be the truth. This is an established rule in the sight of the majority of scholars in the Muslim Ummah. However, difference exists among ulama regarding minor and subsidiary juristic issues. In the view of some of them, both sides would be considered as untruth in ijtihad-based issues, and according to the majority of them, there is consensus on the view that the taking of contraposition in ijtihad-based problems cannot be termed as error and straying.
Thus the word of your Lord has come into effect upon those who defiantly disobeyed, that they will not believe.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
Say, are there of your partners any who begins creation and then repeats it? Say, Allah begins creation and then repeats it. So how are you deluded?
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
Say, are there of your partners any who guides to the truth? Say, Allah guides to the truth. So is he who guides to the truth more worthy to be followed, or he who guides not unless he is guided? Then what is wrong with you? How do you judge?
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
And most of them follow not except assumption. Indeed, assumption avails not against the truth at all. Indeed, Allah is knowing of what they do.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
And it was not possible for this Quran to be produced by other than Allah, but it is a confirmation of what was before it and a detailed explanation of the former scripture, about which there is no doubt, from the Lord of the worlds.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
Or do they say about the Prophet, he invented it? Say, then bring forth a surah like it, and call upon for assistance whomever you can besides Allah, if you should be truthful.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
Rather, they have denied that which they encompass not in knowledge, and whose interpretation has not yet come to them. Thus did those before them deny. Then observe how was the end of the wrongdoers.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
And of them are those who believe in it, and of them are those who do not believe in it, and your Lord is most knowing of the corrupters.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
And if they deny you, O Muhammad, then say, for me are my deeds, and for you are your deeds. You are disassociated from what I do, and I am disassociated from what you do.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
And among them are those who listen to you. But can you cause the deaf to hear, although they will not use reason?
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
And among them are those who look at you. But can you guide the blind, although they will not attempt to see?
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
Indeed, Allah does not wrong the people at all, but it is the people who are wronging themselves.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 32, for the Tafsir.
And on the day when He will gather them, it will be as if they had not remained in the world but an hour of the day, and they will know each other. Those will have lost who denied the meeting with Allah and were not guided.
Commentary. In verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 45, it was said, they will recognize each other, that is, when the dead will be raised from their graves. They will recognize each other as if not much time had passed when they met last. Imam al-Bayhaqi said, this recognition will be possible during the early stage. Later, when the horrendous happenings of the Qiyamah, the Day of Doom, will unfold, this ability to recognize each other will stand disabled. According to some other narrations, the ability to recognize each other will, though still remain, but such will be the awe of the situation that they will be unable to say anything. Mashari.
And whether we show you some of what we promised them, O Muhammad, or we take you in death, to us is their return. Then, either way, Allah is a witness concerning what they are doing.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 45, for the Tafsir.
And for every nation is a messenger. So when their messenger comes, it will be judged between them in justice, and they will not be wronged.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 45, for the Tafsir.
And they say, when is the fulfillment of this promise, if you should be truthful?
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 45, for the Tafsir.
Say, I possess not for myself any harm or benefit except what Allah should will. For every nation is a specified term. When their time has come, then they will not remain behind an hour, nor will they precede it.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 45, for the Tafsir.
Say, have you considered? If his punishment should come to you by night or by day, for which aspect of it would the criminals be impatient?
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 45, for the Tafsir.
Then is it that when it has actually occurred you will believe in it? Now? And you were once for it impatient.
It was said in verse. It means, would you believe when divine punishment actually descends down upon you, whether at the time of death, or even before it? But at that time the response to your believing will be Alan now? Meaning, is it now that you have come to believe while the time of believing has already passed? This is similar to what the Pharaoh said while drowning. I believe that there is no God except the one in whom the children of Israel believe. Surah Yunus, Ayah 90. In answer, it was said, Alan now. And this believing by him was not accepted. In Hadith, the Holy Prophet has said, Allah Ta'ala keeps accepting the repentance of his servant until he is seized by the agony of death. It means that believing and repenting at the time of the agony of death is not credible in the sight of Allah. Similarly, in the mortal world, Tawbah, repentance, could be accepted, if done before the actual falling of the divine punishment. Once the punishment strikes, Tawbah is not accepted. The event related to the people of Sayyidina Yunus going to appear towards the end of the surah in which their Tawbah was accepted falls under this very rule. They had seen the punishment coming from a distance. Moved earnestly, weeping and wailing, they made their Tawbah in all sincerity. Therefore the punishment was withdrawn. Had it struck them, their Tawbah would have remained unaccepted.
Then it will be said to those who had wronged, taste the punishment of eternity. Are you being recompensed except for what you used to earn?
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 51, for the Tafsir.
And they ask information of you, O Muhammad. Is it true? Say, yes, by my Lord. Indeed, it is truth, and you will not cause failure to Allah.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 51, for the Tafsir.
And if each soul that wronged had everything on earth, it would offer it in ransom. And they will confide regret when they see the punishment, and they will be judged in justice, and they will not be wronged.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 51, for the Tafsir.
Unquestionably, to Allah belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth. Unquestionably, the promise of Allah is truth, but most of them do not know.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 51, for the Tafsir.
He gives life and causes death, and to him you will be returned.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 51, for the Tafsir.
O mankind, there has come to you instruction from your Lord, and healing for what is in the breasts, and guidance and mercy for the believers.
Commentary. Previous verses described how astray the disbelievers and polytheists had gone and what punishments had become due against them in the hereafter. Shown to them in the first two verses was the way out of their living in error, and also the source through which they would find deliverance from the punishment of the hereafter. and that source is Quran, the Book of Allah, and His Messenger, Muhammad al-Mustafa. Both are great blessings for humanity, far superior to the entire blessings of the heavens and the earth. Following the injunctions of the Quran and the way of the Holy Prophet go on to make human beings human in the real sense, and when this human person becomes the perfect man in the real sense, the whole world corrects and reorders itself like a paradise on earth. The first of the 5 verses cited above mentions 4 attributes of the Holy Quran, advice as in, an advice from your Lord. The real meaning of the word Mu'jiza and YZ is to delineate such things as would make one's heart soft and receptive. As a result, it would incline towards Allah Ta'ala. The barrier of heedlessness, acquired from excessive indulgence in worldly life, will stand removed. Ultimately, this advice would result in the flowering of a personal concern for what would happen in the hereafter, the life ahead. The Holy Quran, from the beginning to the end, is an eloquent preacher of this very good counsel. See, anywhere, you will find promise with warning, reward with punishment, and prosperity and success in dunya and the hereafter with a corresponding fate due to error and straying. Appearing recurrently in varying shades and blending, it generates a powerful appeal which has the ability to make a heart stone hard turn soft and pliable like water, all ready to absorb the message. Of course, on top of everything, there's the miraculous diction of the Holy Quran that, by itself, has a class of its own in the matter of reversal of hearts. The complement of "from your Lord" with advice has elevated the status of Quranic advice to a much higher level. It is telling us that this advice is not coming from a helpless human being that does not hold the keys to anyone's profit and loss or reward and punishment, nor has any credibility of his own. Instead, the advice is from the merciful Lord, whose word admits of no error, and whose promise and warning too are free of any apprehension of some weakness or excuse. Cure Zen, a cure for what is in your hearts. The word Shifa means the removal of disease, and Sudur is the plural form of Sadr, which means the chest, and it signifies the heart. The sense is that the Holy Quran is a successful remedy of the diseases of the heart. It corrects and cures it as a prescription of legendary elixir wood. The famous Hassan al-Basri, may Allah have mercy on him, said, from this attribute of the Quran, we learn that it is a cure for the diseases of the heart specifically, and not that of physical diseases. Al-Ma'ani, but other scholars have said that the Holy Quran is a cure for every disease, whether spiritual or physical. However, spiritual diseases are far more harmful for men and women than physical diseases. Then, the treatment of such diseases, too, is not in everyone's control. Therefore, at this place, only spiritual diseases that relate to the heart have been mentioned. From this, it does not necessarily follow that it is not a cure for physical diseases. Hadith reports and countless experiments of the religious scholars of the Muslim community are witnesses to the fact that the way the Holy Quran is a great elixir for diseases of the heart. Very similarly, it is the best of treatments for physical diseases also. As narrated by Ibn Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, someone came to Holy Prophet and complained that he felt he had a chest problem. He said, recite the Quran, for Allah Ta'ala says, that is, the Quran is a cure for all such diseases as are found inside chests. Al-Ma'ani from Ibn Marjaway. Similarly, according to the narration of Sayyidina Watila ibn Asqam, may Allah be pleased with him, someone came to the Holy Prophet and said that he had a throat problem. He told him the same thing, recite the Quran. Scholars of the Muslim community have compiled the properties and efficacies of the Quranic verses in regular books by extracting these partly from narratives of hadith and the sayings of the Sahaba, and partly from their own experiments and experience. Imam al-Ghazali's work on Quranic properties is well known in this area. Maulana Ashraf Ali Than Avis, may Allah have mercy on him, an al-Qurani, an abridgment of this work, has been popular among readers of Urdu for over 50 years. Then, there are so many observations and experiments in this field which prove that different verses of the Holy Quran have been a total cure for physical diseases as well. Denying all of them is not possible. However, this much can be conceded, that the real purpose of the revelation of the Holy Quran is to remove the diseases of the heart and soul, while, as a corollary, it is also the most effective treatment of even physical diseases. This also tells us that those who recite the Holy Quran only to treat physical diseases or to seek nothing but the fulfillment of worldly needs are low in sense and high in waywardness. Such people never bother to correct spiritual diseases, nor do they pay any heed to the need of doing things in accordance with the instructions given by the Quran. For such people, Iqbal said, your gain from your sin is but that, by reciting it, death becomes easy. Though he is suggesting Had you pondered over its meaning and message, realities and insights, you would have gained much more of its benefits and blessings. Some research-oriented commentators who have gone deeper into the meanings of the Quran have said that the first attribute of the Quran, that is, mu'izah, advice, good counsel, relates to man's obvious, outward or physically accomplished deeds known as the Sharia. The Holy Quran is the best source of the correction and betterment of such deeds. Then the second attribute, a cure for what is in your hearts, relates to man's hidden, inward or heart-oriented deeds known as tariqah and tasawwuf. Guidance as in guidance, the word huda means guidance or the showing of or leading unto the way. The Holy Quran invites human beings to the way of truth and faith. It invites them to ponder over the great signs Allah Ta'ala has placed in the near and far ranges of the world. Even inside their own person, staggering would certainly be the interior distances of the universe within us, and recognize the Creator and Master of everything.
Say, in the bounty of Allah and in His mercy, in that let them rejoice. It is better than what they accumulate.
Mercy as in, and mercy for the believers. In the second verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 58, it was said, say, with the grace of Allah and with His mercy in these they should rejoice. It is far better than what they accumulate. The sense of the verse is that people should take only the grace and mercy of Allah Ta'ala as the real thing to be delighted about and be pleased with it. As for the short-lived worldly wealth, possession, comfort and recognition, these are things not worth being happy about in the real sense. Because, to start with, no matter how much one has, it turns out to be not as much as one would have wished. It becomes a cycle that never ends. Then there is that ever-lurking danger that it may start declining any time. Therefore, at the end of the verse, it was said, it is far better than what they accumulate. Thus, the core of the meaning is that the grace and mercy of Allah is far better than the layers upon layers of wealth and property and worldly recognition and power one accumulates as the sum total of one's entire life. Two things have been identified as a source of delight in this verse, one being grace and the other mercy. What do these two mean here? Regarding this, there is a hadith from Sayyid bin Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, where it has been reported that the Holy Prophet said, the fatal grace of Allah denotes the Quran, and Rahmah, mercy, means that you were blessed with the tawfiq, ability, of reciting the Quran and acting in accordance with it. Ra'al-Ma'ani from Ibn Marjuway, the same thing has also been reported from Sayyidina Bara ibn Azim and Sayyidina Abu Said al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, while there are many commentators who say that fatal grace means the Quran, while Rahmah, mercy, signifies Islam. However, the sense remains the same as given in the hadith appearing earlier, that is, Rahmah, mercy, means that Allah Ta'ala taught us the Quran, gave us the tawfiq to follow it practically, and that is what Islam is in reality. And Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas narrates that Afdal means the Quran, and Rahmah refers to the Holy Prophet. This interpretation finds support in the verse of the Holy Quran where it is said, and we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as mercy for the worlds. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 107. However, the outcome of this too is no different from the earlier tafsir, because acting in accordance with the Quran, or Islam, ultimately reverts to following the lead given by the Holy Prophet illy through his word and deed. In this verse, the word, they should rejoice, has appeared in the third person in accordance with its well-known rendition, Qur'an, although its real addressees were those present there or were living at that time. The exigency of the situation required that the form used should have been that in the second person, as it does actually appear in some renditions. But the wisdom behind the use of the third person, as in the well-known rendition, is that the universal mercy of the Holy Prophet, or Islam, was not restricted only to those present there, or living at that time. Instead, it included even the generations that will be born right through the last day of Qiyamah. Ra'al al-Ma'ani, special note. At this point, it is worth our attention that there is another verse of the Quran which, in terms of its outward literal sense, seems to indicate that this world is just no place for any highly stimulated expression of joy and merriment. It was said, do not exult. Indeed, Allah does not like the exultant. Al-Qasas, Surah Al-Qasas, Ayah 76. The word, latafra, translated here as do not exult, means rejoicing in triumph or intoxication. But in the verse under study, the command to rejoice appears in the imperative mood. One answer for this seemingly apparent contradiction is that the place where rejoicing has been prohibited is a place where rejoicing relates to the fleeting enjoyments of the mortal world, and the place where rejoicing is commanded is a place where rejoicing is related to the grace and mercy of Allah Ta'ala. Then there is yet another difference here. Wherever rejoicing is prohibited, it does not refer to rejoicing in the absolute sense. Instead, it means getting euphoric and intoxicated in exultation and rejoicing. And wherever permitted, it means rejoicing in an absolute sense.
Say, have you seen what Allah has sent down to you of provision, of which you have made some lawful and some unlawful? Say, has Allah permitted you to do so, or do you invent something about Allah?
In the third verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 59, warning has been given to people who introduce their personal opinion in the serious matter of halal, lawful, and haram, unlawful. They would, at will, declare something to be halal and dub something to be haram without any authority of the Qur'an and Sunnah. A severe warning of no less a punishment, and that of the day of Qiyamah, has been given to those who commit this crime. This tells us that the fact of something being halal or haram does not depend on human opinion. Instead of that, it is the special right and prerogative of Allah Ta'ala and His Messenger. Without their injunctions, it is not permissible to call something either halal or haram.
And what will be the supposition of those who invent falsehood about Allah on the day of resurrection? Indeed, Allah is full of bounty to the people, but most of them are not grateful.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 59 for the Tafsir.
And, O Muhammad, you are not engaged in any matter, or recite any of the Qur'an, and you people do not do any deed, except that we are witness over you when you are involved in it. And not absent from your Lord is any part of an atom's weight, within the earth or within the heaven, or anything smaller than that or greater, but that it is in a clear register.
In the fifth verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 61, mention has been made of the all-encompassing knowledge of the Most Exalted Allah and its unmatched multidimensional extensions. The address is to the Holy Prophet. He is being told that nothing he does by way of his work or recital of the Qur'an remains hidden from Allah. Similarly, whatever all human beings do remains before him, and not even a single particle in the heavens and the earth is concealed from him. Rather, everything is written in the clear book, that is, the preserved tablet, Allah al-Mahfuz. At this place, as it seems, the wisdom of describing the all-encompassing nature of divine knowledge is aimed at consoling the Holy Prophet that his enemies cannot harm him in any way, for he was under the protection of Allah Ta'ala.
Unquestionably, for the allies of Allah, there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve.
Commentary. In the verses cited above, particular merits, definition, and identity of the awliya of Allah have been mentioned. Also given there is good news for them in the present world as well as in the hereafter. The text says that they will have no apprehensions of facing some unpleasant or unforeseen happening, nor will they grieve over the non-fulfillment of some objective. These awliya of Allah, men of Allah, will be people who believe and remain pious, righteous, and God-fearing. They are most welcome in this world and in the next world both. We have to consider three things at this point. What is the meaning of awliya of Allah having no fear and grief? What is the definition of awliya of Allah? How does one identify them? What does the good news given to them in dunya and the hereafter mean? First of all, the awliya of Allah have no fear or grief. This could possibly mean when they are admitted to their allocated place in paradise, after having gone through the accounting of deeds in the hereafter, they will stand delivered from fear and grief forever. They will have no apprehension of any pain or anxiety, nor will they have to grieve for having lost something dear to them. Instead, the blessings of paradise will be everlasting. Given this sense, there is no difficulty in rationalizing the subject of the verse. But it does, however, raise a question. If this be the case, it registers no peculiarity of the awliya of Allah. In fact, all people of paradise who stand delivered from hell will be enjoying that very state of being. Yes, it can then be said that those who ultimately reach paradise will all be known as the awliya of Allah invariably, no matter how different their deeds had been in the mortal world. But once they had entered paradise, all of them will be counted among the awliya of Allah. But many commentators say that freedom from fear and grief with which the awliya of Allah are blessed is common to the present world and the hereafter both. The thing unique about the awliya of Allah is that they remain protected from fear and grief even in the present world, and that they will have no fear and grief in the hereafter is something everyone knows. So included therein are all people of paradise. Apart from that, in terms of relevant prevailing conditions, we have yet another difficulty on our hands. Observations in the world of our experience bear out that, not to mention the awliya of Allah, even the prophets of Allah, may peace be on them, are not secure from fear and grief in this mortal world. In fact, their fear of and humbleness before Allah is far more pronounced as compared to others. It was said in the Quran, among our servants only those who have knowledge really fear Allah. Surah Fatir, Ayah 28. At another place, the emotional state of the righteous and the men of Allah has been described in the following words, and those who are fearful of the punishment of their Lord indeed. The punishment of their Lord is not to be unfearful. Of Surah Al-Marriage, Ayah 27, that is, no one can sit home comfortably in the knowledge that it is due to come. This is borne by facts as well as it appears in a hadith of Sham al-Tirmidhi. The Holy Prophet would more than often look concerned and pensive, and he himself said, I fear Allah more than all of you. There are countless events relating to Sayyidina Abu Bakr, Sayyidina Umar, and the rest of the Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with him, the Tabi'in, and the wide spectrum of the men of Allah, which tell us how intensely they grieved and how genuinely they feared what would happen to them in the hereafter. Therefore, Allama al-Alusi has said in Ra'amani that the awliya Allah are protected against fear and grief in the mortal world has to be seen in terms of what usually happens here. There are things worldly people generally fear or grieve about most of the time. They are chronically addicted to their mundane agenda of life. They have to have convenience, comfort, wealth, and recognition. The slightest shortfall in any of these makes them nervous, as if they were going to die without that. The fear of a minor discomfort or anxiety drives them crazy, and they will go about finding ways and means to get rid of such irritants. The station of the awliya, friends or men of Allah, is way higher. In their sight, convenience, comfort, wealth, and recognition one surrounds himself with in this transitory world are not worth their while that they go about acquiring these. Nor do they care much about the anxieties of the mundane and see no need to beef up their defenses against these. Their lifestyle admits of nothing but the recognition of His greatness and love for Him. So overshadowed they are with the fear of Allah and their humbleness before Him that they just have no use for worldly sorrow and comfort or profit and loss. Now we can go to the matter of the definition of awliya Allah and the marks of their identification. The word awliya is the plural form of wali, commonly rendered as the simpler wal, which bypasses the need to render the doubling of the y sound at the end shown by the addition of o2, as purists would prefer to do. The word wali is used in the Arabic language in the dual sense of near as well as friend or someone held dear. The common degree of nearness and love, as related to Allah Ta'ala, is such as would not leave any living entity, human or non-human, exempt from it. If this element of nearness were not there, nothing would have come into being in this universe. The real justification for the existence of this entire universe is that particular interrelationship which it has been allowed to have by Allah in His absolute majesty, though no one has understood the reality of this interrelationship, nor is it possible to do so, but that a non-definable interrelationship does exist is certain. However, this degree is not what is actually meant in the term awliya Allah. In fact, there is yet another degree of friendship, love, and nearness that is specific to particular servants of Allah Ta'ala. This is known as nearness in love. Those who are blessed with this nearness are called the awliya Allah. This has been succinctly articulated in a Qudsi hadith where Allah Ta'ala says, My servant keeps earning my nearness through voluntary acts of worship, nafil ibadat, until I too turn to him in love. And when I love him, I become his ear, whatever he hears through me. I become his eye, whatever he sees through me. I become his hands and feet, whatever he does through me. In short, it means that virtually nothing issues forth from such a person against the pleasure of his Lord. The degrees of this unique wilaya, station of nearness or friendship, are endless. Its highest degree is for the blessed prophets, because every prophet has to be, of necessity, a wali of Allah. In this degree, the highest station belongs to the foremost among prophets, Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa. Then, the lowest degree of this wilaya, in the terminology of the noble Sufis, is known as the degree of fana, self-elimination. I am nothing, he is everything. It makes the heart of man become so engrossed in the thought of Allah Ta'ala that it would not allow any love rooted in this world to overcome it. When such a person loves, he loves for the sake of Allah. When he hates for the sake of Allah. His own person plays no part in this love and hate cycle, the inevitable outcome of which is that he keeps busy in his quest for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala both outwardly and inwardly. This style of living makes him avoid everything which is not liked in the sight of Allah Ta'ala. The sign of this state of existence is abundance of dhikr and constancy in obedience, in other words, to remember Allah Ta'ala abundantly and profusely, and to obey His injunctions always and under all conditions and circumstances. When these two attributes are present in a person, he is called a wali of Allah. Whoever does not have any one of the two is not included in that category. Then whoever has both, there is no limit to his ranks, lower and higher. It is in terms of these degrees that the ranks of awliya Allah precede or succeed each other. On the authority of a narration from Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, it has been reported in Hadith that the Holy Prophet was asked as to who were the people meant by awliya Allah in this verse. He said, "Those who love each other only for Allah without having any worldly interest in between." Majari quoted from Ibn Marjawayh, "It is obvious that this condition can apply only to those who have been mentioned above." At this stage, we have another question before us. What is the method of acquiring this degree of wilaya, nearness to Allah? Respected commentator Kadithanullah Panapati has said in Tafsir Majari, individuals from the Muslim Ummah could acquire this degree of wilaya only through the company of the Holy Prophet. It is from here that the profound relationship with Allah, which was part of the blessed persona of the Holy Prophet, is partly passed on to the awliya of the Ummah, of course, depending on their ambition and capacity for whatever portion from it falls to their lot. Then we know that this benefit of companionship was available to the Sahaba without anyone being in between. Therefore, the degree of their wilaya was higher than that of all awliya and akdam, plural of qut, literally axis, meaning a man of Allah, who stays at one place, as in Sufi orders. Later people derive this benefit through one or more intermediaries. The more the intermediaries, the more pronounced becomes the difference. Only those who are colored with the color of the word, deed, and message of the Holy Prophet and follow his sunnah in all love and obedience can become such an intermediary. Going to them, frequenting their company with the added practice of listening to their good counsel, remaining obedient and remembering Allah abundantly, this is the blueprint of attaining the degree of wilaya. It is made of 3 parts. 1. Being in the company of a wali of Allah. 2. Remaining obedient to his good counsel. 3. Remembering Allah abundantly. Dhikrullah, with the condition that this abundance and nature of dhikr must be in accordance with the Masnan method. The reason is that dhikr, when frequent and sincere, adds to the luster of the mirror of the heart, and it becomes worthy of receiving reflections from the light of wilaya. It appears in hadith that everything has a method of furbishing it. Dhikrullah furbishes the heart. The same thing has been reported by Al-Bayhaqi as based on a narration from Sayyidina Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him. Majari, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, said that a person asked the Holy Prophet, "What would you say about a person who loves someone spiritually noble but is unable to reach up to his level in terms of his own deeds?" He said, that is, everyone shall be with one he loves. This tells us that the love and company of the awliya Allah is a source of acquiring wilaya, nearness to Allah. Al-Bayhaqi in Shab al-Aman has reported that the Holy Prophet said to Sayyidina Raisin, may Allah be pleased with him, tell you about a principle of faith. With it you can attain success in dunya and the hereafter. Take to the company of all adi hikr, people who remember Allah as indispensable, and when you are alone, move your tongue with the hikr of Allah as much as you can. Whoever you love, do it for Allah. Whoever you hate, do it for Allah. Majari, but in order to be beneficial, this company has to be of those who are in themselves the wali of Allah and staunch followers of Sunnah. Those who do not observe and follow the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet, and do not demonstrate by their word and deed that they are operating under it, are themselves deprived of the essential degree of wilaya. It does not matter if many contra-habitual wonders, kashf and karamat, issue forth from them, they will still be considered deprived. However, if someone is a wali in terms of the stated attributes, even though nothing of the sort has ever issued forth from him, he is a wali of Allah. Majari, now we come to the last point. What are the signs of the awliya Allah? How can they be identified? A Qudsi hadith referred to in Tafsir Majari points out in this direction. Allah Ta'ala said, "From among my servants my awliya are those who are remembered when I am remembered, and when they are remembered I am remembered." According to a narration from Sayyidat Asma bint Yazid reported in Ibn Majah, the Holy Prophet gave the identity of awliya Allah by saying, "Those who, when one sees them, remind of Allah." In short, there is someone by sitting in whose company one gets the tawfiq of remembering Allah, dhikr, and relief from worldly concerns, then this is a sign of his being a wali of Allah. It has been said in Tafsir Majari, there is a prevailing assumption among masses that things like getting to know what is hidden, kashf, doing some extraordinary things, karama, or claiming to be aware of what is al-ghaib, unseen, are signs of someone being among the awliya of Allah. This is nothing but error and self-deception. There are thousands of awliya who are not credited with anything like this that could be termed as authentically proved, while, in sharp contrast, reports of things otherwise hidden and unseen are accredited to those whose very basic iman, belief, is not correct.
Those who believed and were fearing Allah.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 62 for the Tafsir.
For them are good tidings in the worldly life and in the hereafter. No change is there in the words of Allah. That is what is the great attainment.
It was said in the last verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 64, that, for the friends of Allah, there is the good news in the worldly life and in the hereafter. As for the good news of the hereafter, it will come at the time of death, when the spirit of the deceased will be taken to Allah. At that time, he will hear the good news of paradise being for him. Then, on the day of Qiyamah, when he rises from his grave, he will receive the good news of being welcomed to paradise. This is similar to what Al-Tabarani has reported from Sayyidina Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, narrates that the Holy Prophet said, "People who recite La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah, will not experience any fright at the time of death, nor inside the grave, nor at the time they rise from it." This is as if my eyes are seeing the scenario of that time, when these people will, shaking the dust off, rise from their graves, saying, "Praised is Allah who has removed from us all grief." Surah Fatir, Ayah 34. As for the good news in this world, the Holy Prophet said, they are the true dreams one sees himself or are seen by someone else with him in it, and in which there is good news for them. Reported by Al-Bakri from Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him. Another Bashara, good news, of this world unfolds in the form that Muslims at large love someone and take him to be good without any personal motive or interest. About it, the Holy Prophet said that is being taken as good and praiseworthy is for a true Muslim, good news and ready cash. Muslim and Al-Baghawi.
And let not their speech grieve you. Indeed, honor due to power belongs to Allah entirely. He is the hearing, the knowing.
See Surah Yunus, Ayat 64, for the Tafsir.
Unquestionably, to Allah belongs whoever is in the heavens and whoever is on the earth. And those who invoke other than Allah do not actually follow His partners. They follow not except assumption, and they are not but falsifying.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
It is He who made for you the night to rest therein, and the day giving sight. Indeed, in that are signs for people who listen.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
They have said, Allah has taken a son. Exalted is He. He is the one free of need. To Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth. You have no authority for this claim. Do you say about Allah that which you do not know?
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
Say, indeed, those who invent falsehood about Allah will not succeed.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
For them is brief enjoyment in this world, then to us is their return. Then we will make them taste the severe punishment because they used to disbelieve.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
And recite to them the news of Noah when he said to his people, O my people, if my residence and my reminding of the signs of Allah has become burdensome upon you, then I have relied upon Allah. So resolve upon your plan and call upon your associates. Then let not your plan be obscure to you. Then carry it out upon me and do not give me respite.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
And if you turn away from my advice, then no payment have I asked of you. My reward is only from Allah, and I have been commanded to be of the Muslims.
See Surah Yunus, Ayat 64 for the Tafsir.
And they denied him, so we saved him and those with him in the ship and made them successors, and we drowned those who denied our signs. Then see how was the end of those who were warned.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
Then we sent after him messengers to their peoples, and they came to them with clear proofs, that they were not to believe in that which they had denied before. Thus we seal over the hearts of the transgressors.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
Then we sent after them Moses and Aaron to Pharaoh and his establishment with our signs, but they behaved arrogantly and were a criminal people.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
So when there came to them the truth from us, they said, "Indeed, this is obvious magic."
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
Moses said, "Do you say thus about the truth when it has come to you? Is this magic? But magicians will not succeed."
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
They said, "Have you come to us to turn us away from that upon which we found our fathers, and so that you too may have grandeur in the land? And we are not believers in you."
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
And Pharaoh said, "Bring to me every learned magician."
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
So when the magicians came, Moses said to them, "Throw down whatever you will throw."
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
And when they had thrown, Moses said, "What you have brought is only magic. Indeed, Allah will expose its worthlessness. Indeed, Allah does not amend the work of corrupters."
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
And Allah will establish the truth by His words, even if the criminals dislike it.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
But no one believed Moses, except some youths among his people, for fear of Pharaoh and his establishment that they would persecute them. And indeed, Pharaoh was haughty within the land, and indeed, he was of the transgressors.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
And Moses said, "O my people, if you have believed in Allah, then rely upon Him if you should be Muslims."
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
So they said, "Upon Allah do we rely. Our Lord, make us not objects of trial for the wrongdoing people."
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
And save us by your mercy from the disbelieving people.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 64 for the Tafsir.
And we inspired to Moses and his brother, "Settle your people in Egypt in houses, and make your houses facing the Qibla, and establish prayer, and give good tidings to the believers."
Commentary. Mentioned in the verses appearing immediately above, there are some circumstantial details along with their corresponding injunctions as they relate to, say, Inna Musa and Sayyidina Harun, and the children of Israel and the people of the Pharaoh. The first verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 87, carries an injunction pertaining to a particular event. Banu Israel, the children of Israel, who observed the religious law of Sayyidina Musa, used to perform their prayers only in their synagogues as customary. Then, the past communities were also bound by this injunction. Their prayers were not valid if performed in their homes. The Muslim Ummah was the special recipient of the convenience that they could, if needed, perform their prayers everywhere as they wished. In a hadith of Sahih Muslim, the Holy Prophet has, out of his 6 singularities, given one as "the whole earth has been made a masjid for me." It means that salah performed anywhere remains valid. However, it is something else that the performing of obligatory prayers in congregation only in masjids has been declared as an emphasized sunnah. Then saying nafil prayers inside homes is better. This was the usual practice of the Holy Prophet, i.e., he would say only the fard salah in the masjid, then go home and say his sunnahs and nafils there. As for the Banu Israel, they were bound to offer their prayers only in their synagogues in obedience to their religious laws. Realizing this, the Pharaoh, who used to oppress them in all sorts of ways, had all synagogues demolished so that they could be deprived of offering their prayers in accordance with their religious laws. Thereupon, Allah Ta'ala sent to the 2 prophets of Banu Israel, Sayyidina Musa and Harun, may peace be on them both, The injunction mentioned in verse Surah Yunus, ayah 87, it was said there that new houses should be built in Egypt for Bani Israel, and that their orientation should be towards the Qibla, so that prayers could be offered in those very residential houses. This tells us that the religious law of past communities demanded that prayers should be offered in houses of worship specifically built for this purpose. But it was because of a particular incident that the Bani Israel were temporarily allowed to offer their prayers at home, and for this purpose they were to have houses oriented towards the Qibla. And it can also be said that even at this time of emergency, they were allowed to offer their prayers in particular houses that were oriented towards the Qibla. Praying in common homes and public places was still not permitted even at that time. It was unlike the Muslim community that has the convenience of offering their prayers anywhere, be it a city or wilderness. Ra'al-Mani. It will be good to answer another question at this point. In this verse, the Bani Israel have been commanded to orient themselves towards the Qibla. Which Qibla is this? The Kaaba, with a bay to al-Maqdis. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, says, it means the Kaaba, and the Kaaba alone was the Qibla of Sayyidina Musa and his people. Al-Qawtu, by and Ra'al-Mani. In fact, some religious scholars say that the real Qibla of all past prophets was no other but the Kaaba. As for the hadith where it is said that the Jews turned their faces towards the Sakra, the rock, of Baytul al-Maqdis during their prayers, it will be applied to the time when Sayyidina Musa left Egypt and headed towards Baytul al-Maqdis. This is not contrary to his Qibla being the Baytullah during the period of his stay in Egypt. It is also proved from this verse that the condition of facing towards the Qibla was operative also during the period of past prophets. Similarly, it also stands proof from authentic reports that purity, tahara, and body cover, satar al-aura, were conditions of salah even in the religious laws of all past prophets. Since the very purpose of making houses Qibla-oriented was to pray in there, therefore, by giving the command, establish salah, after that, the instruction given was, if the Pharaoh stops you from making prayers in places reserved for worship, prayers do not stand dropped. Make these in your homes. At the end of the verse, Sayyidina Musa has been asked to convey the good news to believers that their mission will be successful. They will overpower the enemy, and they will go to paradise in the hereafter. Ra'al-Mani. It will be noted that, at the beginning of the verse, Sayyidina Musa and Harun, may peace be upon them both, were addressed in the dual form because they both were charged with the responsibility of having houses made Qibla-oriented and allowing occupants to pray in there. After that, by using the plural form which included all Bani Israel, command was given to establish Salah because this law included all, the Prophet and his community. At the end, the command to convey the good news was given particularly to say, Ibn Musa, because it was he, as the law-giving Prophet, who had the right to give out the good news of paradise.
And Moses said, Our Lord, indeed you have given Pharaoh and his establishment splendor and wealth in the worldly life, our Lord, that they may lead men astray from your way. Our Lord, obliterate their wealth and harden their hearts, so that they will not believe until they see the painful punishment.
Mentioned in the second verse Surah Yunus, ayah 88, there is a curse which Sayyidina Musa invoked after having lost all hopes of reforming the people of the Pharaoh. At its beginning, he submitted before his Lord that he had given the Pharaoh and his group glamour and riches in their worldly life, mines of gold, silver, and precious stones in Egypt and Ethiopia, Al-Qutubai. As a result, they misled people from his way. Because common people, when they looked at their bulging affluence, they started doubting had they been in error. Why would they have been so blessed? Again, because common people were unable to see through the reality that material affluence without good deeds cannot be the sign of a person being right and true. It was only after having been disappointed with his efforts to correct the people of the Pharaoh, and having realized the danger it posed for other people who were being misled by the glamour and wealth of the Pharaoh's group, that he invoked the curse, Our Lord, obliterate their riches. According to the statement of Sayyidina Qatada, may Allah be pleased with him, such was the effect of this invocation that all gold, precious coins, stones, land produced belonging to Pharaoh's people were transformed into bland rocks. In a bag found during the period of the pious called Sayyidina Umar ibn Abd al-Aziz, may Allah have mercy on him, there were things dating back to the time of the Pharaoh. Seen in it, there were eggs and almonds of solid rock. Leading commentators say that Allah Ta'ala had turned all fruits, vegetables, and grains they had into rocks. This is among the 9 ayat, signs or miracles, mentioned in the Quran as in, and we gave Moses 9 clear signs, Surah Al-Isra, ayah 101. The second curse invoked by Sayyidina Musa for them appears in the words, "And harden their hearts so that they are deprived of the very ability to receive any good, and they may not come to believe until they witness the painful punishment." The invocation of this curse obviously appears to be something far out as coming through the speech of an apostle or prophet, because the sole mission of a prophet's life is nothing but to invite people to believe and act right and make efforts towards the end. But in terms of the hard facts of the situation here, Sayyidina Musa has already made whatever efforts he could. He was totally disappointed. Now he wanted that they better learn through the punishment for their deeds. In doing so, it was probable that these people, once they see the punishment coming, may make a confession and declare that they now believed, whereby the punishment could stand warded off. Therefore, what became the cause of this invocation from him was his hatred for kufr, disbelief, infidelity. This is similar to what happened to the Pharaoh. When he started to announce his belief at the time he was drowning, the angel Jibril shut his mouth lest divine mercy turns to him, and he stands delivered from the punishment.
Allah said, "Your supplication has been answered. So remain on a right course and follow not the way of those who do not know."
In the third verse, Surah Yunus, ayah 89, it was said that the prayer of Sayyidina Musa has been accepted. But by taking Sayyidina Harun as associated with the act of prayer, the actual address was made in the words, "The prayer of you both has been granted." There was a reason for it. When Sayyidina Musa was making this prayer, Sayyidina Harun kept saying Amen, Amen. This tells us that the saying of Amen, so be it, is also a part of the prayer itself. And since the mass and method of dua or prayer given in the Holy Qur'an is that of making it in a lowered voice, the saying of Amen too, in a lowered mode, seems to be preferable. As for the acceptance of prayer, the information was given to the two prophets as it appears in this verse. But even they were somewhat tested in that the effect of the prayer, according to al-Bayhawi, unfolded after 40 years. For this reason, soon after the mention of the acceptance of their prayer in this verse, they both were given the instruction, "So stand firm, and never follow the way of those who do not know." It means that they should go on carrying the mission of calling people to the true faith, and do not get embarrassed, disappointed, or hasty like the ignorant when the effects of the acceptance of some prayer takes its due time.
And we took the children of Israel across the sea, and Pharaoh and his soldiers pursued them in tyranny and enmity until, when drowning overtook him, he said, "I believe that there is no deity except that in whom the children of Israel believe, and I am of the Muslims."
Mentioned in the fourth verse, Surah Yunus, ayah 90, was the famous miracle of Sayyidina Musa, the crossing of the sea and the drowning of Pharaoh. There it was said, until when he was about to drown, he said, "I believe that there is no God but the one in whom the children of Israel believe, and I am among those who submit."
Now, and you had disobeyed him before and were of the corrupters?
The answer to this appearing in the fifth verse, Surah Yunus, ayah 91, came from Allah Almighty Himself. It says, "Is it now that you come to believe while you were rebellious before, and you were among the mischief makers?" This proves that the profession of faith exactly at the time of death is not legally trustworthy. It is further clarified by the hadith in which the Holy Prophet said, Allah Ta'ala keeps accepting the tawbah, repentance, of a servant until comes the time of the gargara of death. The gargara of death means the time the soul or spirit is drawn out or extracted from the body, and it is a time when angels appear face to face. At that time, life in this world, the home of deeds, is all over, and the laws of the hereafter come into force. Therefore, nothing done at that time is acceptable, neither belief nor disbelief. Whoever believes at such a time will not be called a believer. He will not be treated as a believer while shrouding and burying him. This stands proof from the fate of Pharaoh. There is a consensus that he died a disbeliever. This is also what the text of the Quran says. In case someone is reported to have called the belief of the Pharaoh as valid, it will either be suitably interpreted, otherwise the statement would be considered false. Ra'al-Ma'ani. Similarly, if someone were to utter, God forbid, a word of disbelief, kafir, in a state when the soul is being drawn out of the body, he will not be called a kafir, disbeliever. Instead, a salah of janazah, Muslim funeral prayers, will be offered for him, and he would be buried like Muslims, and the word of disbelief uttered by him would be interpreted in his favor. This finds confirmation in what happened in the case of some awliya of Allah, especially when that which they uttered bothered people, as if what they were uttering was nothing short of kufr, disbelief. However, When they became conscious and explained, it gave relief to everyone, and they realized that it was nothing but a declaration of true belief. In short, when the soul is being drawn out, and the certain knock of death is on, that time is not counted in the life one lives in this world. Nothing done at that time is valid in terms of the Sharia. However, everything is if done before that. But those who see this transition from one world to the other have to be very cautious. It is possible to make a mistake in determining the correct situation. Is this the time of the drawing of the soul from the body, Nazatara, or is it the last rattle of death, Bargaratu el-Maut, or is it that which prevails earlier, usually referred to in English as being in the throes of death or the agony of death, or, uncharitably enough, giving up the ghost?
So today we will save you in body, that you may be to those who succeed you a sign. And indeed, many among the people of our signs are heedless.
Commentary. Addressing Pharaoh in the first verse Surah Yunus, Ayah 92, it was said that Allah will take his body out of the waters after he is drowned so that his body becomes a sign of divine power and a lesson for people after him. It happened when, after having crossed the sea, Sayyidina Musa told Bani Israel about the drowning of the Pharaoh. They were so overawed and subdued by him that they refused to believe the news and said that the Pharaoh was not drowned. To guide them right and to teach others a lesson, Allah Ta'ala had the dead body of Pharaoh thrown ashore by a wave of the sea. Everyone saw it and believed that he had died, and then this corpse became a sort of moral deterrent for everyone. After that, it is not known as to what happened to this corpse ultimately. The place where the dead body of the Pharaoh was found is still known as the Mount of Pharaoh. Some time back, newspaper reports indicated that the dead body of Pharaoh was found intact and was seen by the public at large, and that it was deposited safely in the Cairo Museum. But it cannot be said with certainty that this is the same Pharaoh who confronted Sayyidina Musa, or some other Pharaoh, because names of Pharaohs differ. Every ruler of Egypt in that period of history had the title of Pharaoh. But no wonder, the divine power had thrown a drowned dead body ashore. Very similarly, it may have kept it even preserved against spoilage so that it could become a lesson for future generations. And it may still be there. However, it remains essential to learn a lesson from it, as compared to becoming excited about its discovery as an archaeological triumph. At the end of the verse, it was said that many people pay no heed to the verses and signs of Allah. They do not ponder over them and fail to learn their essential lesson in living a better life. Otherwise, signs abound. They are everywhere, in every particle of this universe. A look at them would help one recognize Allah and His perfect power.
And we had certainly settled the children of Israel in an agreeable settlement, and provided them with good things. And they did not differ until after knowledge had come to them. Indeed, your Lord will judge between them on the day of resurrection, concerning that over which they used to differ.
The second verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 93, brings the future of a people bulldozed in disgrace by the Pharaoh into sharp focus, making it stand out against the evil end of the tyrant. It was said that Allah gave the Bani Israel a good place to live. They had the whole country of Egypt for themselves. Then they were given the holy lands of Jordan and Palestine, which Allah Ta'ala had assigned to Sayyidina Ibrahim and his progeny as their inheritance. A good place to live has been termed, as translated as, a proper place to live in the Quran. The word Sid at this place means good and proper. The sense is that they were given a place to live that was suitable and proper for them in every way. Then it was said that Allah gave them their sustenance in the form of halal and pure things, so much so that they had the best of everything. Towards the end of the verse, once again, their penchant for crookedness and evil-doing has been mentioned. Among them, too, there were many who, soon after having power, failed to appreciate the blessings of Allah and went about disobeying Him. They recited the Torah, and they knew the signs and marks of the Holy Prophet mentioned there. This awareness demanded that they should have been the first to believe in him as soon as he came. But how strange that these very people believed in the coming of the last prophet, Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa, before he actually came. They would tell people about the signs he would have and the time he would come. They would even use the wasilat medium of the last prophet in their prayers. But when the last prophet came with a whole array of evidences of his veracity, and the signs identified in the Torah, these people started disputing among themselves. Some of them believed, while the rest refused to do so. In this verse, the coming of the Holy Prophet has been expressed by saying, knowledge came to them, here ilm, could also denote certitude. In that case, it would mean that once the causes of observation and certitude converged together, these people started disputing. Some commentators have said that ilm, knowledge, at this place denotes malam known, that is, when the blessed person who was already known through the prophecies of the Torah came before them face to face, they started disputing the truth. At the end of the verse, it was said that Allah Ta'ala will give his verdict about what they used to dispute on the day of Qiyamah. Truth will then become distinct from falsehood, and the upholders of truth will be sent to paradise, while the practitioners of falsehood to hell.
So if you are in doubt, O Muhammad, about that which we have revealed to you, then ask those who have been reading the scripture before you. The truth has certainly come to you from your Lord, so never be among the doubters.
In the third verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 94, the address is obviously to the Holy Prophet, but it goes without saying that there is no probability of his doubting the revelation. Therefore, the purpose is to beam the message to the Muslim community through this address where he is not the intended recipient. Then, it is also possible that this address may be to human beings at large, asking them if they had any doubts about the divine revelation sent to them through, say, in Muhammad al-Mustafa. If they had, let them ask those who recited the Torah and Injil before them. They would tell them that all past prophets and their books have been announcing the glad tidings of the last among prophets. This will remove their scruples and suspicions. According to Tafsir Majari, this verse tells us that anyone in doubt about some religious matter is bound to have his doubts removed by asking genuine ulama, religious scholars whose learning, honesty, and adherence to Quran and Sunnah is well recognized, popularly referred to as ulama al-haq. To continue nursing such doubts is not a good thing to do.
And never be of those who deny the signs of Allah, and thus be among the losers.
In the fourth, fifth, and sixth verses, the same subject finds support and emphasis while carrying a warning to those who are heedless.
Indeed, those upon whom the word of your Lord has come into effect will not believe.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 95, for the Tafsir.
Even if every sign should come to them until they see the painful punishment.
See Surah Yunus, Ayah 95, for the Tafsir.
Then has there not been a single city that believed, so its faith benefited it, except the people of Jonah? When they believed, we removed from them the punishment of disgrace in worldly life, and gave them enjoyment for a time.
In the seventh verse, Surah Yunus, Ayah 98, the heedless deniers of truth have been admonished for their failure to make the optimum use of the time of life allowed to them. There was still time for them to leave denial and contumacy. Otherwise, an ominous time was due to come when they will make tawbah, but their tawbah will not be accepted. They will say that they believed, but their belief will not be welcome. And that time will be the time when the punishment of the hereafter will appear right before their eyes at the time of death. It was in this connection that an event relating to Sayyidina Yunus and his people was mentioned that has good counsels and great lessons in it. It has been asked in this verse that the people who denied truth could have believed at a time when their believing would have been of benefit to them. It means that there was no use for it at the hour of death, or the punishment, or after being neck-deep in it, or at the time doomsday sets in, for the doors of repentance will then be closed, and no repentance or belief from anyone will be acceptable. Now that they still had the time, they could put their contumacy aside and become believers, very much like the people of Prophet Yunus did. When they, much before the worst happened, saw the divine punishment coming, they lost no time, repented and believed. For this reason, Allah Ta'ala removed the painful punishment from them. The gist of the tafsir given above is that the door of Tawbah does not close even when the worldly punishment comes face to face. However, Tawbah is not accepted at the time the punishment of the hereafter comes face to face. As for the coming of the punishment of the hereafter face to face, it would either be on the day of Qiyamah or at the time of death, whether it is natural death or death as a victim of some worldly punishment, as was the case with the Pharaoh. Therefore, the acceptance of the Tawbah of the people of Sayyidina Yunus is not contrary to the divine law. In fact, it falls under it because they, no doubt, made their Tawbah when they saw the punishment coming, but they certainly did so before the punishment overtook them, and did it before death too. This is contrary to what the Pharaoh and others did. They did their Tawbah only after the punishment had overtaken them, and did that at the time of the last rattle of death, saying that they believed. Therefore, their believing was not valid and trustworthy, and the Tawbah they made was not accepted. A precedent of the event relating to the people of Sayyidina Yunus is the event relating to Bani Israel, which finds mention in the Holy Qur'an itself. In this event, the Mount of Tur was left dangling over their heads so that they were scared enough to repent. They repented, and their tawbah was accepted. This appears in Surah Al-Baqarah, where it was said, "And raised high above you that mount on terror, hold fast to what we have given to you." Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 63. The reason was that they had, much before the punishment materialized and death overtook them, repented simply by noticing the imminent danger of punishment. Similarly, when the people of, say, Ibn Yunus saw the punishment coming, they sincerely wept and wailed and repented, details of which will appear a little later. So, the acceptance of this tawbah is not counter to the divine law stated above. Qutubah, at this stage, some contemporaries have made a grave error. They attribute shortcomings to, say, Ibn Yunus in the discharge of his duties as a prophet. They declare that the cause of the removal of punishment from the people was the failing of the prophet, and that this very failing was the cause of divine displeasure, which is mentioned in Surah Al-Anbiya and Surah As-Safat. Their words are as given below, Deen 321:19, 164. By considering the hints of the Quran and the details of the Book of Jonah, at least this much becomes clear, that some shortcomings had issued forth from Hadrat Yunus, peace be on him, in the performance of his duty as a prophet. And most probably, becoming impatient, he had abandoned his permanent station before time. Therefore, having seen the signs of punishment, the Assyrians repented and sought forgiveness, and Allah Ta'ala forgave them. Out of the principles and universals of divine law described in the Quran, there's this standing article as well, that Allah Ta'ala does not punish a people until He establishes His argument against them conclusively. So, when the Prophet went about falling short in doing his duty as a prophet, and on his own, vacated his station of duty before the time determined by Allah, then the justice of Allah Ta'ala did not bear by punishing those people. Tafsir of Maarif-ul-Qur'an by Maulana Mawjudi, p. 321, Volume 2, published 1964. Ordinary changes had been made, without any prior public announcement of withdrawal from these remarks, in the later editions of Tafsir of Maarif-ul-Qur'an. That is, the words "shortcomings in the performance of duty as a prophet" are not there in the new text. But the following observations are still there. When the Prophet did not continue the mission of giving good counsel to those people up to the last moment of the respite given to them, and before the time determined by Allah, he himself, in a self-serving way, migrated out in a way, then the justice of Allah Ta'ala did not bear by punishing his people, because the legal conditions of a conclusive argument against them had yet to be fulfilled. Thus, despite the change in the text of the Tafsir of Maarif-ul-Qur'an, the comment of Maarif-ul-Qur'an stands as is. Idaratul Ma'arif, Publishers, October/1991. Apart from the religious aspects of the observations quoted above, which have been dealt with in the commentary of this tafsir, the language used to convey these has contributed significantly in making the observations acidly vulnerable. For example, the use of verbs towards the end, kargaya, hatgaya, and guernakia, are hot action words in the present context. When used for prophet, they are terrible. When attributed to God, like the last one, they are presumptuous. The liberty taken through language is difficult to transplant in translation. By ignoring it, the translator turns traitor. So, the translator has made the extra effort to stay within functional limits and render the text as it is. Since the Urdu original has been reproduced here, discerning readers who read it should have no problem in making their independent judgment about the rendering tr. The first thing to look at here is that the prophets, peace be upon them all, are protected from sins, masum. This is an uncontested belief on which there is a consensus of the Muslim Ummah. In its details, some partial differences do exist. For instance, is this protection isma from all kinds of minor sins, saghira, or from the major ones, kabra, only, and whether or not this protection isma includes the period of time before being inducted as a prophet. But no difference exists among any individuals or groups in the belief that the blessed prophets, all of them, can never fall short in carrying out their duty as prophets. The reason is that there could be no greater sin for prophets than that they themselves fall short in taking care of the mission for which Allah Ta'ala had chosen them. This is an open breach of trust in assigned duty, something beyond even ordinary nice people anywhere. If a prophet does not stand protected, masam, even from this shortcoming, then there is no use for protection from other sins. If there were something somewhere even in the Quran and Hadith, seemingly contrary to the established principles of Quran and Sunnah, and the collective Muslim belief in prophets being protected from sins, it would have been necessary to interpret it in a way that would not have left it discordant and different from the absolutely proven principles of Quran and Hadith. But things are strange here. What the learned author has presented with reference to Quranic hints and details of the Book of Jonah may possibly be in the Book of Jonah, and so be it. being something having no validity in the sight of the people of Islam. As for Quranic hint, there is none, not just one. In fact, what has happened here is that this presumption has been forced out of a patched pattern of several premises. First of all, it was presumed that the removal of the punishment from the people of Sayyidina Yunus took place contrary to divine law, which is totally contrary to the context of this very verse, and equally contrary to the explications of recognized authorities in the field of tafsir. Along with it, it was also assumed that divine law was broken on this occasion because the prophet himself had failed to fulfill his duty as a prophet. Again, along with that, it was also assumed that some particular time had been fixed by Allah Ta'ala when he was supposed to leave the place, and he, much before this supposedly fixed time, abandoned his duty of calling people to truth and ran for life. If seen with the least deliberation and fairness, it will stand proved that no hint from the Quran or hadith points out to these assumed premises. To consider what precedes in the verse of the Quran itself, let us look at the words of the verse. So, how is it that there never was a town which could have believed, and its belief would have been of benefit to it, except the people of Yunus, Jonah? The sense, as already clear, is that of regret over the state of inertia prevailing among common residents of habitations around the world. It is in that spirit that it was said, how would they not become such as would have believed at a time when believing is acceptable and beneficial? In other words, they could have believed before being hit by punishment or death, in which case their believing would have been accepted. But the people of Sayyidina Yunus were an exception to this rule, for they, by seeing the signs of punishment, and much before being hit by the punishment, believed, and their believing and repentance came to be accepted. This evident sense of the verse is itself telling us that no divine law has been broken here. In fact, exactly in accordance with divine practice, their faith and repentance have been accepted. Most commentators, Abu Hayyan, Al-Qurtubi, Al-Zamakhshari, Kadithanullah, Al-Malusi, and others have given this very sense of the verse according to which the acceptance of repentance from the people of Sayyidina Yunus comes under the customary divine law. The words of Al-Qurtubi appear as given below. Ibn Jubair says that the punishment had covered them up like the sheet of cloth on the grave. Then, as their tawbah turned out to be sound, being before the punishment materialized, Allah Ta'ala lifted the punishment from them. And At-Tabari says that the people of Sayyidina Yunus have been given a special place among all other peoples in that their tawbah was accepted after they had seen the punishment, and that has been mentioned by a large number of commentators. However, as Ad-Daj says that the punishment had not yet fallen on those people. They had only seen the signs that proved the coming of the punishment, and if they had seen the very punishment falling upon them, their believing would have then been no good for them, and their tawbah too would have not been accepted. Al-Qurtubi says that the statement of Az-Zajjaj is better because the seeing of a punishment after which tawbah is not accepted means that in which one is seized, as it happened in the case of Pharaoh. Therefore, in this very surah, the event of the people of Sayyidina Yunus has been taken up immediately after the event relating to the Pharaoh, so that the difference becomes clear in that the belief of the Pharaoh came after having been seized by the punishment, contrary to the people of Sayyidina Yunus, who came to believe before the punishment actually seized them. This is confirmed by a saying of the Holy Prophet, Allah Ta'ala accepts the tawbah of the servant until he is rattled by death. And al-Garbara, as in the hadith, is the rattling sound that comes from the throat, and that is what happens on being seized by death. And the same thing is evident from the riwayah of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, in which it has been said that the people of Sayyidina Yunus had repented before the actual falling of the punishment. And Al-Qurtubi says, as based on this explanation, there remained no difficulty, or contradiction, or particularization of the people of Sayyidina Yunus. As for At-Tabari and other commentators who have deemed this event to be special to the people of Sayyidina Yunus, none of them have said that the reason of the special treatment was the shortcomings of Sayyidina Yunus. Instead, the honest repentance of those people and their sincere belief in divine knowledge are the kind of reasons that they have given to that end. And now, when we know that the removal of the punishment from the people of Sayyidina Yunus was just not against the divine law, in fact, was exactly in accordance with it, then the very foundation of what has been postulated here stands demolished. Similarly, there is no Quranic hint to prove that Sayyidina Yunus, once he had given the warning of punishment, broke away from his people without prior divine permission. Instead, the context of verses and reports from Tafsir tell us that things happened here as they had happened with all past communities, that is, when the decision was made to send divine punishment on a people, Allah Ta'ala would command his messenger and his companions to leave that area. This has been clearly mentioned in the Quran in connection with the story of Sayyidina. Very similarly, here too, when this command of Allah was delivered to those people through Sayyidina Yunus that the punishment will come after 3 days, then the departure of Sayyidina Yunus from that area has, obviously enough, taken place under divine orders. Of course, there was a slip from Sayyidina Yunus in terms of the elegant prophetic station he was blessed with. Words of displeasure about it appear in Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 87 to 88, and Surahs, Surahs, Safat, Ayah 139 to 148, and as a result of which came the event of his staying in the belly of a fish. But this slip has nothing to do with the assumed assertion that he fell short in fulfilling his duty as a prophet. In fact, what actually happened is what has been stated earlier with reference to authentic tafsirs. In brief, after Sayyidina Yunus had delivered the warning to his people that the punishment will come after 3 days as willed by Allah, he left his place and went out. Later, it was proved that the punishment did not materialize. Now, Sayyidina Yunus was worried as to how he would go back to his people. If he did, they would charge him to be a liar, and the law of those people required that a proven liar must be killed. Now, this added the danger of the likely loss of life in returning to his people. Under such circumstances, he had no way out but to migrate from that very country. But the customary practice of the blessed prophets is that they do not migrate simply on the authority of their personal opinion, unless the signal to migrate comes from Allah Ta'ala. So, the slip of Sayyidina Yunus was no more than that he boarded a boat with the intention of migration before came the permission of Allah. This was, though no sin in itself, but different from the customary practice of prophets it was. If we were to ponder over the words of the verse of the Quran, the slip of Sayyidina Yunus will not turn out to be a shortcoming in the fulfillment of his duty as a prophet. In fact, it would prove not to be anything else but migration before permission with the aim of staying safe against the oppression of his people. The verse of Surahs, is virtually explicit regarding the subject. It was said, when he ran away towards the laden boat. Surahs, Safat, Ayah 140. Here, the act of boarding a boat with the intention of migration has been expressed through the word abalka, denoting displeasure. It means the running away or fleeing of a slave without the permission of his master. And in the verse of Surah Al-Anbiya, it has been said, and the man of the fish, when he left in anger, assuming that we shall not keep him tight. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 87. Here the tenor of speech is that of displeasure over the act of migration that was resorted to because of natural apprehension and the desire to stay protected from a hostile people. It is worth keeping in mind that all this happened after the perfect fulfillment of the duties of prophethood. Only when a return to his people posed a certain danger to his life. Tafsir al-Mani has taken up the subject in the following words: Sayyidina Yunus left his people in anger against their bitter hostility and adamant infidelity, despite that he had spent a long time as a prophet inviting them to faith. This journey of his was a kind of migration, but he had not yet received the permission for it. Here it has been made clear that some shortcoming in carrying out the prophetic mission was not the cause of divine displeasure. Instead, it was migration before permission that did become its cause, which, by itself, was no sin. But because of being contrary to the customary practice of blessed prophets, it was received with displeasure. When some ulama sounded the learned contemporary about this error, he chose to report the sayings of many commentators relating to the tafsir of Surah As-Safat in support of his stand. Among these, with the exception of some Israelite reports of Wahb ibn Munabi and others, not a single report proves his stand that shortcomings were committed, God forbid, by Sayyidina Yunus in the fulfillment of his duty as a prophet as correct. And it is not hidden from the people of knowledge that commentators generally include Israelite reports in their tafsirs about which all of them agree that these are not authentic and trustworthy. No Islamic legal ruling can be based on them. It is only through the crutches of these Israelite reports, whether they appear in the books of Muslim commentators or in the book of Jonah, that this grave accusation can be leveled against Sayyidina Yunus that he had committed shortcomings in the fulfillment of his duties as a prophet. No commentator of Islam has ever approved of it. And Allah, He is pure and high, and the most knowledgeable, and before Him is our plaint that He protects us from all errors and lapses. Details of the event relating to Sayyidina Yunus. Part of the details of the event relating to Sayyidina Yunus has been mentioned in the Quran, while some of it has its proof in reports of hadith and history. According to these sources, the people of Sayyidina Yunus lived in the well-known place Nineveh near Mosul, Iraq. Their number has been given as more than 100,000 in the Holy Quran. It was for their guidance that Allah Ta'ala sent Sayyidina Yunus. They refused to believe. Allah Ta'ala asked Sayyidina Yunus to warn these people that divine punishment was going to overtake them within 3 days. Sayyidina Yunus made the announcement before his people. When they went in consultation with each other, they agreed that they had never found Sayyidina Yunus lying, therefore this thing from him was not to be ignored. Finally, they devised a plan to see whether or not Sayyidina Yunus stays among them at his place during the night. If he did, they were to understand that nothing would happen, and if he went somewhere else from there, then they should be certain that the punishment would descend upon them the next morning. Sayyidina Yunus moved out of his dwelling place during the night as divinely commanded. When morning came, the divine punishment, in the form of a cloud, like black smoke, started hovering over their heads, tending to be descending down closer to them. They then became certain that they all were going to be destroyed. Seeing this, they looked for Sayyidina Yunus so that they could confess to their past denial, repent and believe with him as the witness. But when they did not find him, they took it upon themselves to come up with repentance and prayers for forgiveness in the best spirit of sincerity at their command. To do that, they left homes, came out on open grounds, women, children and animals all huddled there, wearing rags, weeping and wailing, repenting and begging refuge from divine punishment. They made the whole area resound with a massive collective plaint. Allah Ta'ala accepted their repentance and removed the punishment from them as mentioned in this verse. Reports indicate that this was Ashura, that is, the day of the 10th of Muharram. On the other side, Sayyidina Yunus was waiting outside the township expecting that the divine punishment will be about to hit the people there. He knew nothing about how they had repented and sought forgiveness. When the punishment stood removed, he started worrying about himself, for his people would now declare him to be a liar because he had announced that the punishment would strike within 3 days. According to the law of those people, if a person whose lying was known did not produce a witness in his support, he would be killed. Sayyidina Yunus was concerned, apprehending that he would be declared a liar and killed. The noble prophets are protected from every act of sin and disobedience, but are not set apart from others in terms of human nature and temperament. At that time, Sayyidina Yunus naturally grieved that he had made the announcement as divinely commanded, and now it was because of the announcement he made he would be declared a liar. How could he go back to his place under these circumstances and take the risk of being killed in accordance with the law of his people? Deep in this anxiety, he started off with the intention of getting out of that town until he reached the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. There he saw a boat being boarded by people. They recognized Sayyidina Yunus and let him board gratis. The boat sailed, but when it reached offshore, it stopped suddenly. It refused to move any further, neither forward nor backward. The boat people made an announcement. They said that Allah had made their boat special. When an oppressive sinner or a slave in flight boards it, the boat stops on its own. So, they said, let that person show himself up so that others do not suffer because of one person. Sayyidina Yunus spoke out that he was the sinner and the fleeing slave. As the act of leaving his town and boarding the boat was prompted by a natural apprehension and not by divine permission, the dignified bearing of Sayyidina Yunus as a prophet had no hesitation in declaring this act of coming towards the boat without that permission a sin. The rule was that no movement of a prophet should have been without divine permission. So he said, "Throw me into the sea and be spared of the punishment." The people of the boat would not do that. They drew lots so that the person thus named could be thrown into the sea. By chance, the lot drawn had the name of Sayyidina Yunus on it. They were intrigued. They drew lots again and again, but as divine decree would have it, the name that kept appearing repeatedly was that of Sayyidina Yunus. The Holy Qur'an mentions this drawing of lots and the incidents of the name of Sayyidina Yunus being drawn therein to be the one to be thrown overboard, and he drew lots and was among the losers. Surah as Safat, Ayah 141. This dealing of Allah Ta'ala with Sayyidina Yunus was in view of his special status as a prophet. He had done no contravention of any divine command that could be called sin or disobedience for that matter. There exists no possibility of these issuing forth from any prophet because they are massum, divinely protected. But it was not appropriate to the high station of a prophet that he would transfer to another place without divine permission simply on the basis of natural apprehension. It was this contradignity conduct which brought displeasure and resultant action. On the one hand, names were being drawn in lots. The named was waiting to be thrown overboard. On the other hand, a large fish under divine orders was lurking by the boat with her mouth agape, waiting for the incumbent to be thrown into the sea and right into her belly. Allah Ta'ala had already commanded the fish that the body of Sayyidina Yunus that was to be deposited in her belly was no food for her, instead, was his home for a while. When Sayyidina Yunus was lowered into the sea, the fish received him. Sayyidina Ibn Abdullah ibn Masud, may Allah be pleased with him, said that Ibn Yunus lived in the belly of the fish for 40 days. It would take him down to the seabed, and nautical journeys far and wide. The period of his stay in the belly of the fish has also been reported as 5 and 1 day and few hours. Mashari, only Allah Ta'ala knows the truth about it. Living in that state, Ibn Yunus made the following dua: There is no God but you. Here are you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers. Surah Al-Anbiya, ayat 87. Allah Ta'ala accepted this prayer, and Sayyidina Yunus was put on the shore alive and unharmed. But the heat in the belly of the fish had left no hair on his body. Allah Ta'ala caused a gourd vine to grow near him. Even the shade provided by the leaves on it became a blessing for Sayyidina Yunus. And signaled by Allah Ta'ala, a wild goat would come every morning and evening, stand near him, and he would have milk to drink. Thus Sayyidina Yunus was alerted to that slip, and later on, his people too came to know the whole story. In this story, as for parts that have been mentioned in the Qur'an, or stand proof from authentic narratives of hadith, they are certain. The rest of them come from historical reports, and no ruling of Islamic law can be based on them.
And had your Lord willed, those on earth would have believed, all of them entirely. Then, O Muhammad, would you compel the people in order that they become believers?
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
And it is not for a soul to believe except by permission of Allah, and He will place defilement upon those who will not use reason.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
Say, observe what is in the heavens and the earth, but of no avail will be signs or warners to a people who do not believe.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
So do they wait except for like what occurred in the days of those who passed on before them? Say, then wait. Indeed, I am with you among those who wait.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
Then we will save our messengers and those who have believed. Thus it is an obligation upon us that we save the believers.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
Say, O Muhammad, O people, if you are in doubt as to my religion, then I do not worship those which you worship besides Allah, but I worship Allah who causes your death, and I have been commanded to be of the believers.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
And commanded, direct your face toward the religion, inclining to truth, and never be of those who associate others with Allah.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
And do not invoke besides Allah that which neither benefits you nor harms you, for if you did, then indeed you would be of the wrongdoers.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
And if Allah should touch you with adversity, there is no remover of it except Him, and if He intends for you good, then there is no repeller of His bounty. He causes it to reach whom He wills of His servants, and He is the forgiving, the merciful.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
Say, O mankind, the truth has come to you from your Lord, so whoever is guided is only guided for the benefit of his soul, and whoever goes astray only goes astray in violation against it, and I am not over you a manager.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.
And follow what is revealed to you, O Muhammad, and be patient until Allah will judge, and He is the best of judges.
See Surah Yunus, ayah 98, for the tafsir.